Welcome, everyone, to Legion Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Donnie, and I'm joined by my co-host, Deucy.
Hello, everyone.
Deucy, how are you today?
Doing good. Another episode I'm excited for because I'd say this is my top overall series of all video gaming.
I would say I was about to open up with that as well, actually. I was going to say just the same, how excited I am to talk about this series because our episode today is going to revolve our top 10 Resident Evil games. And for me, much like you do see, this is a pretty pivotal series in my gaming world. Like, this is one of the series that I always go back to. It's one of the ones that has made a pretty big impact in my life as far as, other game series and whatnot. So I'm just beyond excited to talk about Resident Evil. I love Resident Evil.
It is probably the first scary air quotes game that I played because I'm not a horror fan when it comes to movies. And I don't seek it out in video games, but this was, especially Resident Evil 2, introduced me to zombies, jump scares, and also kind of the PlayStation in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had seen PlayStation around my friends' houses and stuff, but when you got Resident Evil 2, that's when I was like, oh, what's this?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, Resident Evil 2 was a huge game for us too. So I can't wait to dive into this and just tell everyone how much we love it and give everyone some history and some lore into Resident Evil. And this crazy series has been around for about 27 years now, which is insane.
God.
Yeah, it's nuts. Which also is a testament to how old we are, which is fun too.
Yeah.
Before we dive into Resident Evil, what have you been playing lately?
So a couple things now that I can have more time, but it doesn't feel like it
because there's never enough time.
I jumped right after the wedding. I jumped right back into work, and so I'll play this one that I'm saying now with the loosest definition of the term. I started Starfield, and I feel like I'm taking it in the most tiniest nibbles. Because
taking those baby space steps.
Oh my god! When I first started it up, you go and you do the tutorial mission, and then it gets into the player creator, and it was already kind of late at night, and I had just been through a day of work and everything, and I was dozing off through the player creation. I didn't even fully remember the options I could choose, and when you and the guys were talking about, oh, I created this with this type of background and everything, I was like, oh, I don't remember. I think I had like an adoring fan and I'm a diplomat. Was that an option? Like, I literally was dozing off. Like, my wife was sitting next to me and she was like, "Are you napping?" I was like, "No, I'm paying attention." Yeah. Really.
Like, is this the whole game? You're just making a character the whole time? Or
yeah.
How much further can you get in this?
You've been staring at that one option for an awful long time there.
It's yeah. Well, I was talking about that in the Diddy Kong episode, but how do you feel about it compared to what I did? Because for me, I enjoyed it a lot, but I definitely had some gripes with it that weren't game-breaking or showstoppers. Just stuff that I think could have been designed better and also gave me idea. It kind of made me think of, like, they wanted to release this a year ago, and it just now they decided to delay it, right? And it came out now.
Yeah, what was it doing a year ago?
Exactly, right? So they got in a good place now, but I'm curious what your experience is like compared to mine, because I had finished the game, and again, enjoyable game, but not anywhere near with all the games we've had that come out in 2023. This one it's good, but it just doesn't measure up to some of the other ones I've played so far.
Well, it's interesting. Like, I'm a big Bethesda fan, and when we were all kind of talking about it in the group thing, and everybody brought up different gripes that they had, and I was just sitting back going, "No, that's a Bethesda thing." Like, talking about the weapon swaps and the weapon wheel and everything, I was like, I knew that right away because
I picked it up right away too.
I played so much Fallout that I was like, I was looking forward to that. I was like, I know where to put this and how I want to set up my guns. Another thing was loading screens between stuff, and I'm like, no, I think Fallout 4 especially had a lot of that. I think Fallout 3 had it worse, but like, you open up one door, and in Fallout, all the buildings are blown out. So when you do finally find a building you can go in, you kind of expect, like, yeah, you're going to have to load a whole new map for this. And I haven't found it too bad yet, but I also haven't opened up the world as much because like I said, I keep dozing off, and I'll play for like 20 to 30 minutes, and I'm just like, I've wandered between 2 or 3 different rooms or 2 and 3 different star systems, and then I'm like, I'm dozing off again. I gotta put this down. So I can't wait until I finally open it up to what a true like open Bethesda RPG is, and then I might be able to see the flaws. I do know already I don't like the map or the lack of
right.
map.
The map is horrible in this game.
What the heck were they thinking?
Well, you know what the problem is, and I meant to bring this up in our Diddy Kong episode, but one of the problems I had with thinking that was the major thing was, so the moment they announced there's going to be 1,000 planets to explore, I already hate the fact that they announced that.
I was like, yeah, that's probably not happening.
Exactly, because what they did, it's in Mass Effect 1 did this 16 years ago where there was a bunch of planets to explore, and it was just like, you know, a couple points of interest. There was really nothing there. It might be like dog tags or whatever, and it's like, I didn't want Starfield to do that, and it did that in a roundabout way where each of the planets are procedurally generated, and there's always like 3 to 4 points of interest.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is like there's no map because it's procedurally generated, so it's like it's just kind of generating everything on the fly, especially when you go on an empty planet, and then it sets out these 3 waypoints which you can only walk to. There's no way to traverse through that. So that's my other gripe too, is like
that is mind blowing.
You land on these, you know, vast planets, quote unquote, but then you're walking 900 meters with, again, this is a Bethesda game, so it's not like you can sprint the whole way. You have O2, so if you're sprinting, you're running out of stamina, you know?
And people were complaining that you couldn't run around the entire planet. Like, there are invisible walls at one point. It's like, why would you want to? You can barely get to the point of interest.
It's like you play No Man's Sky if you want a literal giant planet to traverse that will take you like hours to go in a circle.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is the cities that are definitely set up and not procedurally generated. Why are there no maps there?
And that there's no answer for that either, because so Bethesda, you know, they released it was like a small patch recently because there's always issues with them, but they mentioned that, you know, later on, whenever there's no date, that they're considering including a map. I'm like, this should have been in the game in the first place. Like, at least have. I'm not looking for like the most robust mini map. I just want something where it's like, if there's a shop, I can, you know, toggle it on the wayfinder.
See where it is.
Yeah. And there's no way to do that. Like, you have a small compass in the corner, but it really just highlights your you know, your objectives, like where there's certain waypoints for objectives or fast travel points. But it's kind of annoying to visit all these planets and cities, and like the layouts are all different, which is, you know, they should be, right? It keeps everything interesting. But then it's like, you really have to remember where each store is, where it's like you're looking for a trader, a vendor, a ship vendor, or, you know, if you want to change your body type or something, like that's, you have to remember that on every city you visit, which really means that you're going to visit the cities you're familiar with because you know where everything is. So it kind of takes some of the exploration out, where it's like, I don't want to bother. There's no map to really help me.
I did find it interesting at first, where like I picked up one mission and the guy was like, hey, I've lost my data pad for something, and I could have left it potentially at one of these 3 places. And so I'm wandering around looking at the store signs, which to me felt realistic, because if you're in a new place, I mean, sure, you're not going to help some shop guy find his data pad or his iPad or anything, but you are going to look around lost because you don't have just a mini map. Well, actually you do. You have Google Maps, but you don't have these specific things while you're walking. You're going to look at signs and say, oh, that's where that shop is. Oh, 2 blocks down, that's where that shop is. And that's cool. But it's the fact that after you've been on this planet for a while, you're still not going to remember, because a lot of the stuff looks the same, or you're going to remember it one way and then you get totally turned around and you're like, oh, where was that again? So yeah, just a basic map for the cities that you know aren't going to change. That seems like video game 101 these days.
It should be. Yeah. And again, like, you know, it's just like these small things in Starfield. Like, I did enjoy the game thoroughly, and I think you're going to end up loving it once you dive deeper into it. Yeah. Because the main story it's excellent. Like, I really enjoyed the whole way through. It kept me interested the whole time. Like, it had a, you know, pretty good, you know, narrative going through, a narrative thread that kept me interested. But it's just after I beat it, I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll wait for the expansion to come out, or, you know, whatever updates that happen. But, you know, that kind of leads into the game I've been playing recently, which did have a rehaul after 3 years. Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this game has had a hell of a history. If anyone's listening out there, they might know about how it released at the end of 2020 in one of the worst states for a huge AAA game. This was developed by CD Projekt Red, who's known for the Witcher series, and Witcher 3 is like one of the, it's one of the widely considered like one of the best games of all time. And they released Cyberpunk in December 2020 in like just this horribly broken state. Now, I was lucky that I had a PS5, so I played through the game all the way through, and I loved it. Like the story was awesome. Like you could tell everything was there for a good game, but it was just fundamentally and broken, both from a technical side and design side. So 3 years later,
Yeah.
they released Cyberpunk 2.0, which is like a massive update that overhauls the skill trees. It overhauls the gun systems, the armor. Like everything in this game has really been overhauled, basically to what it should have been 3 years ago.
It's weird. We were talking about it earlier. Like, it's like that first game never happened. And now that there aren't really physical releases, I mean, there are, but you have patches, like constant patches. That game is going to get lost. And sure, like you said, you don't even want to play the old broken game or the game with the old trees that don't even work right. But it's just a weird thought that game was like a big whoops, and now here's the game that should have been all along, and this is what you're going to play going forward, and just pay no attention to that other game behind the curtain over there.
Well, to a different extreme, like an example of that would be Final Fantasy 14, the original MMO launch.
Oh yeah,
right. That was an abomination as far as I had heard. Like I didn't play it back then, but it was like broken. The servers were a mess. Like it was just a bad game. And then they took it offline. They completely rebuilt the game, and it's like one of the most successful MMOs that's still going today. But you're right, like no one remembers that. Like I forgot what they called it back then. I think it was just Final Fantasy 14, or I forgot what they call it now, like in passing, so to speak. But it's like, yeah, that's almost a part of gaming history now, and it's like you won't play it, you won't want to play it, but it still exists in some way.
Another one that comes to mind was Final Fantasy 12.
Where, with the Zodiac Age upgrade.
Yeah, which I haven't played yet. I remember playing the original back on PS2.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't mind it back then, but I heard it got way, way better because Final Fantasy fans didn't like it when it was first out.
Yeah, I played the port on Switch and I think on Xbox, but they did a lot of, it was PS4 first because they added like the job board or the job swap and the job board, I think. But yeah, same thing. So it's like I always love when games kind of, they get to the point that they should be.
Yeah.
Even though it took a while, because Cyberpunk, like I said, the story was, I love the story. I love the theme of it. Like the world they were building wasn't there at the time, but now it's like, they've done the next gen upgrade patch for PS5 Series X. I don't have a PC that can run it, but they've done some like insane stuff with ray tracing now. So the game looks just unbelievable. But I'm waiting. I'm going to play through the game again, and then there's the Phantom Liberty expansion that's out next week.
Oh yeah,
and I've heard nothing but great things about that too. So I'm really excited to be getting back in the world of Cyberpunk. I put in, I don't know, I think like 8 or 9 hours over the last couple of days because it's that much of an immersive game where I'm like looking for every little thing, all the little lore bits, the data pads, right, and all the side quests, like. That's why it shocks when you're like, it hasn't hooked me yet, because I feel like this should hook you immediately.
Right. I love the theme of it. I do like cyberpunk movies and other games that have done it. Shadowrun, I started that up briefly a few weeks ago, and I enjoyed that whole atmosphere. But for some reason, Cyberpunk I've started twice. I started once when it first came out. And I had a Series X, so I didn't get the problems like last gen did.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I just recently restarted it after I'd beaten a couple games and I didn't know what I wanted to play next. And then come to find out that they have this major overhaul, so I shouldn't have even restarted it a few weeks ago. I'm going to restart it a third time. I'm going to play the same opening chapter like 3 times. I'm going to have that memorized. I have no idea what happens next.
well, I was telling you earlier too, like this is technically my 4th run of this game, because the first run, it literally broke. This was at launch. So there was a point where an NPC got stuck and I couldn't talk to him to advance the mission. So I had to restart the game then. Yeah. So on that second playthrough, I finished it, just the main story, because I was doing side objectives. And back then, I hit a glitch where I completed a bounty. Like, you just go out and kill whatever enemy for the cops. And the dialogue box didn't disappear. So the entire like last 10 hours of the game, I had this box saying like I completed a bounty. I was like, oh God, like I just got to get through this game because the story was good. It had me hooked. And I started again last year with the next gen upgrade, which was shocking to me that I played a year ago. So this is my 4th run. But I think you should definitely pick it up or pick it up again and restart, because it's worthwhile. Like they've done a lot, and I really hate that games can do this now, where it's like they release in just a broken, awful state, and then it takes 3 years and they get excellent. But this game, it's really much worth it now. I think it's definitely worth playing.
And I have to say, like, the broken state of it isn't what turned me off to it for some reason. Like, I never had that many glitches. There was a couple times there was a floating gun in the air.
Yeah,
or
mine
like,
weren't game breaking either. Yeah.
A guy was like walking into a wall, and that was it. He wasn't moving anywhere else. But yeah, it wasn't these glitches that turned me off. I just was like not immediately hooked, and then I'd get distracted with a different game.
Well, and I think too that like you mentioned about the previous skill system and everything like that, I think does a lot to deter people, because when I played it and beat it on launch, like I invested certain points in certain skills and whatnot, but none of it mattered. I actually had the same weapon for like the last, I want to say 7 or 8 hours of the game. Like it was some underleveled weapon, but it did so much damage that there was no reason for me to craft anything, and there was no reason to level anything up. Like it just became a shooter at that point, right? And now it feels like an RPG. Now it feels like your skills matter. You have your quick hacks, like everything is more thoughtful in this because they've had 3 years to build upon what they've done, right?
Yeah, like you said, they finally get what they wanted to do out. This is how long it should have taken them to build it.
Yeah.
If they were given proper time and not rushed by all the corporate bigwigs.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, right? It's always the publishers are like trying to push them, like, no, we need to get this out for Christmas. And it cost them for a moment, right? There was definitely a lot of gloom and doom at the time, and thankfully they did, they supported the game all through the pandemic for the last 3 years. They've done a lot of work. They're proud of it now. So it's always good to see those redemption stories, but it just sucks that those redemption stories are so frequent nowadays,
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into Resident Evil, Deucy, our main event here.
Woo.
So for those unfamiliar with Resident Evil, the first game was released in 1996 on the PlayStation. The general gist of the story here, just to kind of wrap this up, because it does span 27 years and a lot of games.
And all of the games are canon.
They are.
Not like some of the Game Boy games.
I would say most of them are.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about how many there are.
Yeah.
It'll kind of give context to why not all of them are canon, because there's a lot. So the story... So in the 1996 Resident Evil 1 game on PS1 and Saturn, the game starts when a fictional city of Raccoon City has a whole series of murders that happens in the town, and the Raccoon City Police Department sends out their special team called STARS. It's Special Tactics and Rescue Service. So the Bravo team of STARS is sent to investigate, and then they eventually disappear. And after that, the RCPD sends out the STARS Team Alpha, which comprised of Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Barry Burton, Albert Wesker, and Rebecca Chambers. I mentioned those because a lot of those recurring characters throughout all the games.
Oh yeah,
right.
It's surprising.
Yeah, and they're sent off to go, to find out what happened to the Bravo team, and then the whole story unfolds where it turns out that they end up in this mansion, and there's an underground lab that's owned by Umbrella, which is a biomedical company, and they're developing a T-virus which eventually can mutate humans and animals into zombies. And that sets up the whole series. Like, there's everything that spans from Umbrella, this massive corporation. They're persistent throughout the game. So this started all. This really kicked off the survival horror genre. Previous to this, there were a lot of games that were survival horror, but this is really what I think solidified the genre and made the blueprint moving forward.
Well, yeah, because it was inspired by a game called Sweet Home.
Yes, on the Famicom.
But I don't think that had as much action as this.
I don't think so. I think it was more of like it was almost like an adventure game on the Nintendo.
Was it point and click, or you could move around?
I think you had to direct your character.
Okay.
I think. But I haven't played. I should play it myself, 'cause I'm sure there's a fan translation somewhere on there.
But Resident Evil, they got a good balance of action and scares. There were some legitimate scares, a lot of it jump scares back in the day. And the scary thing of just running out of ammo, so you couldn't do all the action that you wanted.
Yeah, this game was, the genre of survival horror. This game was the literal definition of survival horror. Like, you were surviving horrors.
Yeah,
in most of these games here. So, if you want a really fantastic, overview and history of the game, I definitely recommend getting a book called Itchy Tasty: An Official History of Resident Evil by Alex Anil. It's like $10 or $15 on Amazon.
And if you're a fan of Resident Evil, that title makes a lot more sense.
It does, yeah. It's a nice reference to one of the documents to find there. But it's an excellent book. It covers basically Resident Evil 1 through 4. It interviews a ton of the developers. It goes through a lot of the history about how some games were made, some of the difficulties they had during development. It's just an excellent book. Like 10 to 15 bucks is a steal. I did it was like a Kickstarter, Indiegogo, where it was.
Oh, yeah, same here.
It was worth every penny.
Our names are in the book.
Our names are in the book, actually, which is fun, yeah. So just to show, just to give context to how successful Resident Evil has been, there are about 29 Resident Evil games, and they've been across every console you can imagine, from PlayStation 1, the Saturn, there's mobile phones.
The Gamecom.
There is there's a port on a system that, I kid you not, it's called the Zibo. It's this, like, Brazil, I think it was in Brazil and Portugal, I forgot what other countries, but it's just like this knockoff system, but there's a port of Resident Evil 4 on that even.
Wow.
So Resident Evil has been on everything. This series has become Capcom's biggest selling series, which you have to think of like Capcom's pedigree just since the beginning, since like the Nintendo days to now.
Yeah.
How many significant series they've had, and this is their biggest one.
Right? I was surprised when I read that that note you had, because I'm like, Capcom did Street Fighter, Capcom did Mega Man.
Yeah.
And you have this. But like you said, it makes sense when you port it so many times on every new system and every new generation. You're gonna get even more sales.
Yeah. So we have some sales numbers for it. So today, to 2023, the series has sold around 146 million units, which is insane to think that many copies of this series just exist all throughout the world, right?
Yeah.
So with the other Capcom series, we have Monster Hunter number 2 with 94 million, and then Street Fighter at number 3 with 52 million sales. Mega Man is number 4 with 40 million. Devil May Cry is number 5 with 29 million. And for me, all of those, with Monster Hunter, I don't have too much fondness for. Like, those are all among my favorite series in gaming, right?
It's surprising that Devil May Cry is that high up, and they've only had
there's been five
games?
games. Yeah, there's been a couple spin-offs, I think, and especially ports. But I was surprised about that too, because I love that game or that series, and I'm surprised it's a top 5 Capcom series. Yeah. And then just for context too, this is what I think gets people mad sometimes, is that Resident Evil 6 until Resident Evil 6,
I've heard this recently.
Resident Evil 6 was the best-selling Resident Evil game in the series, and that was until Resident Evil 7 came out, and that sold about 12.4 million. And then Resident Evil 2 Remake with 12.6 million. So those eventually had to knock off the champions of Resident Evil 6 and 5. And we'll talk about those because...
How did 6 get that way? Because when you talk to fans, they started saying 5 was like the fall off because it was getting...
It was more action-oriented. Even more action-oriented than 4.
It was not even scary horror. It was just like monster horror. And 6, like, totally jumped the shark. And yet... It was like word of mouth wasn't spreading anything. Like, people were still buying it.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about 6, which we'll get to when we get there, because it's a polarizing game for good reason. We'll say that. And then, so for the most recent Resident Evil release, there's been the Resident Evil 4 Remake that came out in March of 2023, and then most recently in September, they released the Separate Ways DLC, which I've been playing, which is really good. I never played that on the PS2 version of 4. But it's a nice bit of DLC. I heard it's like 5 or 6 hours long, and I played the first couple chapters, and it's really good. And then Resident Evil even went into movies. Like, they started making Resident Evil movies. So the first movie was released in 2002, March 15th, 2002. I say this significantly because every year my brother will text me about the anniversary of the Resident Evil movie. March 15th, he's like, "Oh yeah, bro, by the way, happy Resident Evil anniversary." So I'm like, "What do you mean?" So that movie led to 5 sequels.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there was only 5?
There was only 5, yeah. So the most recent one was Resident Evil: The Final Chapter in 2017. I will say, as a Resident Evil fan, I don't like any of these movies really. Like, they're popcorn garbage zombie movies. They're loosely related to Resident Evil. Like, they have the names and a lot of the locations, but the story is their own thing. And me, as like someone who wants like a Resident Evil movie.
So that's why I don't mind the series. I don't hate it, and I don't like it. I liked the first one okay, but yeah, I was like you. I wanted a Resident Evil movie based on the games that I know. But in my head, I also knew that I already know the story to the games, so nothing shocking is going to happen in these movies. Yeah. So I'm okay with them going their own route and having, what's her name, Alice, Mila Jovovich's character. She's like the main person through all of them. I didn't like the second one when it really tried to throw everything from the games in it at once, and all the characters.
And it killed stars like in the first 20
Yeah.
minutes.
And so that was unnecessary. And then in the later ones after that, they didn't bother so much. I mean, they brought in Wesker eventually, and it was still Alice. It was the star having to deal with these things, and I was fine with that. I'm like, okay, stay in your own lane.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to say I hate the movies, like they're the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, but they're just not. They're not good movies.
They're not Resident Evil.
They're not Resident Evil either. So that's also a claw for us. Like, they're not even good movies to begin with, and they're not even good Resident Evil movies. But it didn't matter because that series grossed over $1.2 billion. So despite what I say,
it's also just like how people don't like to admit that Resident Evil 6 was the best selling. It's probably the best selling video game to movie franchise.
Yeah, that's fair. So they didn't stop there though. They made a newer live action movie that came out in 2021. It was Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City.
I keep meaning to watch that. I know it's not good, but
so that one. So I kind of like that one, but you know, a lot of it's really bad too. Like some of the references are just too overt and like in your face, and like there's one scene where like this lady's bashing. She's getting bitten by a zombie. She's bashing on a door saying, "Itchy tasty."
Oh God,
itchy tasty. I'm like, oh God, like
no.
You couldn't think of a more delicate way or like, you know, a clever way to inject that than just have someone who's like agonizing in pain saying itchy tasty, right? Yeah. So it's like it's a fun dumb movie, but it has a lot of great Resident Evil references. It's just not a great movie at all.
That one was not one of them.
Yeah. And then they've also made some animated movies. The most recent one was Resident Evil Death Island, which I watched. That one felt like it could have been a spin-off of a game because it just feels like it's a bunch of cutscenes stitched together. It's like an hour and a half.
Well, I've definitely seen the CG movies more than the live action
Same
ones.
for me.
And all of those could fit into the game universe, especially when they got more action oriented. Mm-hmm. But I liked them all because they have the game characters in there and the stories fit more with the world that you know.
Yeah. And I would agree. Like the good thing too is like they're not terribly long either, so it's like it's a quick watch for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
There's 4 of those. There's Death Island, which is the most recent one. There's Vendetta, Damnation, and Degeneration. Netflix had a couple of shows. There was a live action one that had the late Lance Reddick as Wesker. Not a good show. I tried watching it, and my brother Bob, he thought it was like a fun show. It was fine, but for me, it was just kind of hard to watch and just.
I want to see it.
It kind of went nowhere.
It's on my queue. And I really like Lance Reddick in anything he does.
He's great. Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to see that. My bar was really low anyway, so I'm probably going to be like your brother and be like, it's fine.
It could be. It's despite the bar being low, I was still like tripping over it kind of thing. And then also Netflix had a Resident Evil animated or CG animated series. It was called Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. I watched this. It was a short miniseries. It was cool for like 4 episodes. It was fun. It just felt like an extended little series. It was nice. Yeah. And then even going further back, there was a series of novels that were released that both of us have some fond memories about.
Those were amazing.
Yeah, this was a series of books released between 1998 and 2004 by an author named S.D. Perry. And these books were sort of like, sort of their own version of the events of the game. So there was 7 of them that I could find. There was The Umbrella Conspiracy, which is sort of loosely based on the first game.
Not loosely. I mean,
was that one closer?
The ones that are based on the games are really detailed about the games.
Okay, but I remember them.
There are a couple, like the 2nd and the 4th book were original stories, and they were still enjoyable. In fact, I feel like some of the things from them got put into the games later. Like the 4th book came out and it had a giant scorpion.
Oh yeah, which was in 0.
Ta-da!
Yeah. That's right. I do vaguely recall that. There's Caliban Cove, City of the Dead, Underworld, Nemesis, Code Veronica, and 0 Hour. I never read 0 because I think that was well after. So I'd done book reports on these in high school.
Yeah,
because my teacher didn't know any better. So I took I read the books, but I also like peppered in stuff from the games because I knew what the teacher wasn't going to go read the book or whatever.
Yeah.
So I didn't get 0 Hour because that was after I graduated high school.
Yep.
I think I didn't realize they made a 0 Hour.
In fact, yeah, I don't know if I have that one, and I think I got Code Veronica and never read it because, like you said, it was the end. I might have not even read Nemesis.
I'm not sure. Like I would actually, I'm sure these aren't like the most,
It's weird because
not literary masterpieces, but I would like to revisit them.
It's weird because like it's kind of like Jurassic Park, where the movie and the book differed so widely that when they made Lost World, the book Lost World wasn't going to match the movie because it had to follow the original book.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing goes with these, where like they built their own universe and peppered in Resident Evil 1 and 2. And by the end of the fourth book, I mean, there's this one character that's in none of the games who's like this mysterious guy that's like feeding them information directly from Umbrella. And by the time you get into Nemesis, which is like a side story to 2, and Code Veronica and stuff, you're like, how are you going to tie in this other world that you've made when you're also trying to make them straight up like the games?
Yeah, it's almost like they were writing these in parallel to the games being developed and coming out. So like, oh geez, like how am I gonna tie this with what I'm doing in the books kind of thing?
I'm interested in reading Zero actually, because I mean they made it work as well as they could in the game universe. How are they gonna do it in the book one?
Yeah, exactly. So again, I would like to revisit those books. They look like fun. I love the covers. Like maybe we'll post the covers online or something. But this really, like I said, it just shows like how huge Resident Evil has gotten. Like it started from like a probably like a low budget PlayStation game that they really weren't sure was going to kick off anything.
Yeah.
And it's defined a genre of gaming. And it's still persisting 27 years later. All right, Deucy, kick us off with your number 10.
So my number 10 is probably going to be a little controversial, but once I give my reasons, you'll understand why. Resident Evil 7.
Oh, well, I don't know if I would say controversial, but go ahead. Go ahead.
I know it's a really great game, and after 6, it really did a lot to reignite the Resident Evil series. But for me, I haven't beaten it, and in fact, I don't even know if I'm halfway through. And it felt a lot like the horror games of Condemned, where there's first person and it's just claustrophobic. And,
it's very atmospheric.
And you don't have a lot of ammo, which ties back to the original survival horror series. Good on them. But I just did not enjoy, like, not having control over being attacked. Like, at one point, what is it? Your wife like cuts off your hand.
That's at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Yes, your wife assaults you with a, I think it's a chainsaw. Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't want that to happen. Stop doing that to me. Like in the original Resident Evils, I could defend myself, and I don't want to be part of the set piece. But like I said, I do enjoy the atmosphere, and I do enjoy that they took it back to horror as opposed to wild anime action.
Yeah, this one was definitely when they reset of sorts. And for me, it was kind of that same sense where I wasn't sure what to expect from it, especially since it didn't have characters I was really familiar with.
Yeah.
And then once I played it, it was just like, oh, this is Resident Evil. It's different, but it's Resident Evil.
Yeah.
All right, so for my number 10, you want to say controversial for you. Resident Evil 7 at 10 is not as controversial, I would say, as me. As a pure Resident Evil fan, I put Resident Evil 6 as number 10. So Resident Evil 6, this came out in 2012. It was originally on the PS3 and 360. And now you can play it on your PS4, 5, Switch, Xbox, PC. It's on everything. So the reason this game, I think, is... it's controversial for a reason, and I think it's valid, is that it's for me, it's a great action game, but it's not a good Resident Evil game.
It's a good co-op game.
It's a great co-op game. You and I have played it a little bit. I would love to finish more of it, because when I played this, or when I bought it, like, it took me a while to warm up to, because it wasn't Resident Evil. Like, it had all the characters, it had some of the lore in there, but it was this heavily action-oriented game with like, I think you had a little bit of cover-based shooting, a little bit, but it was kind of clunky, and then... like you couldn't really pause. You had your little PDA thing you popped up, which was also like just poorly designed UI, or like you had to swap weapons, and
that inventory screen, like,
it was annoying.
Still grates on me.
Yeah. And as I was playing through it, even back then, I was like, I don't know why I'm just so stuck on this game. Like, there's 4 different campaigns, different combos. There's like, it was Leon, and I forget the girl you're with.
It's his partner
his police partner.
Yeah.
And like Chris has a partner too. And then there's Jake, who I think is Wesker's son.
And Sherry. Yeah.
So it does this thing where it's like, it has these 4 different campaigns that are pretty distinct, and all the stories kind of intersect in a way. But again, like, there's nothing really survival horror about it. Like, ammo's pretty robust. There's a lot of scripted situations where like you're in a second floor building keeping zombies out.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic action game.
Mhm.
And for me, like I was struggling almost to put this on here because it's like it's not quite Resident Evil. And you know, as much as I hate the movies for not being Resident Evil, this I should hate just as much because it's not quite Resident Evil, but it is.
I did enjoy the co-op aspect, and we talked about when we were playing it, like this is a good action game and good zombie co-op game. And I do enjoy the stories tying together, kind of like Resident Evil 2, where you had Leon and Claire. Like you meet up with all these other characters at some point, and then when you play their story, you see it from their perspective, and you still meet up with the characters, and you're like, oh, that's what they were doing.
And it's yeah, exactly. The intersecting stories is really cool and it's interesting. And then there are some co-op puzzles that are kind of fun. Like they're not exactly brain teasers or brain twisters, but it's stuff like, you know, aim your laser at the mirror so it heats up something so the other player can the gate can lift on the other player's screen.
There's other parts where you're like, okay, you have to flip a switch and your partner has to now run a gauntlet, and you can sort of help them by shooting zombies away from them.
Yeah, so this takes that, and this is maybe why it's so successful, is because it's a co-op game, which was huge in this era of 360 PS3. Like everything was co-op at the time.
For better or worse.
Yeah, for better or worse. Shooting games were like the thing at the time, right? And this is like it's pretty accessible. Like it's a pretty fun and tight and fun co-op game. But if you're looking for Resident Evil, it's not quite there.
Yeah. It also came out around the time of those CG movies, which is why I said those movies are good for the action era, where like Resident Evil 6 totally feels like one of those CG movies.
It does. I mean, it even has QuickTime events that are related to like action scenes, right?
Yeah.
Like there's even the beginning when you're playing as Leon in the prologue, there's a scene where this giant plane is crashing into the city, right? And you have to mash certain buttons. It's like, oh god, like all the tropes that people kind of hated are in this game. But again, like for me, it's at number 10 because I put so much time into this, and it's just it is what it is. But I do enjoy this game. It's like the anti-Resident Evil, but it's great. Deucy, you're number 9, sir.
My number 9 is what you were struggling with.
Oh, okay. I know what this is then already.
Yeah. Number 9 is Resident Evil 0.
Okay.
So I was trying to think of my bottom half of this list, and once I got Resident Evil 7 on there, I was like, oh my god, what comes above that? Like, it was a pretty good Resident Evil game. Like I said, I just didn't finish it. But then I realized, like, I did enjoy Resident Evil 0 because of the time it came out, which was GameCube era. I was still in school, and I had time to kill, so I played that one and the Resident Evil remake. There were some problems I had with it. That's why it's pretty low on my list, where I didn't like the partner system.
That's why I left it off.
It was weirdly like a co-op game, but it wasn't a co-op game because it wasn't 2-player. And I didn't like the item system where you didn't have the chests anymore. You had to just like drop items. And if I didn't have a guide, I was probably going to drop items that I needed later. And all of a sudden, oh, sorry, you can't even go back to that area. But I did like that it was a prequel that still tied into the story pretty well. Like, obviously there was a character in there that you're never going to see again because he was never mentioned.
Yeah, he was the prisoner. What was his name? Like
Billy?
That's right.
Yeah. And
because the main character is Rebecca, who's from the first game.
Oh, yes.
So it makes sense that she's in the prequel before the events of the first game.
It's so funny because you watch the first game and you see that Bravo team was disappeared, and you're playing as the Alpha team going to find them, and you find Rebecca in the mansion. You have no idea that she just spent like 2 to 3 days before that going to some other building where another horror and atrocity was happening.
And after a whole train thing, too, which, tying back to what you said about the book, like the Scorpion boss is like one of the first bosses in this game on the train.
Yeah, and so she goes through all of that, and the main boss is like this crazy leech monster, and then you find her in the mansion. You think she'd be a grizzled vet by then.
Yeah.
But it still worked. I still liked how they incorporated Wesker and William Birkin from 2, and it gave you more of an insight into the creators of Umbrella. and the whole reason for the mansion that you're going to, like Spencer. And so I enjoyed that as a prequel. It fit in, and there wasn't a whole lot of, hey, this doesn't connect, this doesn't mesh, like you sometimes find with movies these days.
Yeah, I think the reason I struggle with Zero is because when I played it, I liked it, but I didn't like that leeches were kind of the enemy. Like, I just didn't find that interesting, really. Same thing. Like, I didn't like the inventory system where, like, I wish I wish the storage boxes were back.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, I love the idea, the idea and concept of being able to throw the items around or whatever, and you can also swap between Billy and Rebecca.
Yeah.
But to me, like, this felt like what it was supposed to be in a way. Like, it was a side story, but it almost felt like an unimportant one. Like, it was just something where they realized they probably could have done a prequel and they did it. And then, like, when you paint the context of them, like, finding Rebecca and she's just there, it's like, yeah, you have no idea that what hell she's been through for the last 2 or 3 days. Like, there's this whole thing that happened. None of that is implied, obviously, in the game because it didn't exist.
Yeah.
But for me, like, it's a good game, but it was just, it's funny that I'm even saying I had to struggle between 0 and 6 on my top 10 list, right? But my favorite fun fact about Resident Evil 0 is that it was originally a Nintendo 64 game back then.
Yeah.
And it was good, and eventually got canceled because Nintendo 64, by the time this had come out, or would have come out, like, the Nintendo 64 would have been just dead and gone. Like, I think 0 came out 2002?
Yes.
Right? So that was
Latter half.
about 1 year after the N64 is basically dead. So there's no way they're going to release this on there. And it was a gorgeous GameCube game too. Like, it looked incredible at the time.
It was from the screenshots, it was going to look good on the N64.
Yeah, it did.
Because they already proved that they could put Resident Evil 2 on there, which was already made and they had to compress. But this was going to be starting from scratch, made for the N64.
Yeah, the ground up. Absolutely. And then this one, so it was originally released on the GameCube, and now if you want to play it, it's on virtually everything. Like, they did a nice HD remaster, I think, I don't know, like around the PS3, 360 era, maybe somewhere around there. But either way, like, the great thing about Resident Evil for a lot of these games, like, you'd find them dirt cheap now, like, digitally. Like, they're on storefronts. Like, Steam has them on sale all the time. They're really inexpensive.
They don't take up a lot of space on your modern
they
consoles.
Don't. Yeah, that's right. If you're concerned about hard drive space on modern consoles, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 9 was your number 10. It was Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. This one came out 2017, just for some background there. It was originally on PS4 and Xbox One and PC. You could play it now on PS4 and 5 and the Xbox Series systems, PC, Switch.
Did they have any upgrades when they went up to PS5? And
they did.
Series
so X? I was about to mention, as the Resident Evil 2 remake and this both got next-gen upgrades, I think, within the last year. So that had some, the usual enhancements. I think they had some ray tracing on there, which I'm not a big fan of, but they look better now. It's great. It's just unfortunate I finished it, but yeah, I put this in number 9 because, like we were talking about earlier, for me, after 6, and there was a bunch of Resident games that had been released after 6, like, none of them really scratched that Resident Evil itch. And with this one, once I got into it, I kind of did the same thing you did, where, like, I got through most of it and then I kind of stopped. And then once I finished, I was like, oh God, like, there's, like we talked about in Diddy Kong, oh, there's only 2 hours left. Like, I could just finish this in one session, right? But I think here, this is when they really dialed back to what made Resident Evil with the horror elements, like you said, the claustrophobia, the atmosphere was just second to none. Like, just in that, in the beginning hours when you're at the dining table with that family. Oh yeah. Right? And there's like body parts everywhere, and like, you eventually have this crazy clash with the father of the family in the garage. Yeah. And then, what it eventually leads to, I think it's like a cop car that bursts through and runs over him. And you're like, and you're in the middle of all this, like, first person, you're seeing this all unfold. It's like, holy crap. Like, what the hell is going on with this thing?
In the meantime, you're also running away from him, so you can't see behind you what he's doing.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm going to run, I'm going to turn, and I'm going to duck.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing, is like, it's a return to form for like all the horror elements that made Resident Evil. And it was all just extremely effective. And like, there's one scene later, I don't know if you got to it, but it's almost like a Saw kind of setup, like from the movies, where it's like, you're in a puzzle room, like you're in the position of someone else. I forgot their name. And then like, you have to solve these puzzles in different rooms. Like, there's one where it's like, there's this puppet with like a quill, and like, he's etching something in there, and like, you have to etch something in his arm. And like, there's all these different puzzles, and eventually leads to like this sort of kill room where if you don't do something in a certain time, like, it fills up with fire. Oh God. And like, it's just terrifying. Like, this is exactly what I wanted was the Evil game. So for me, it's like, as good as this is, it fits at number 9, because there's a lot of other games we'll talk about that are just that much better to me, All right, Deucy, hit us with your number 8s.
So number 8 is another co-op special, but it's not 6.
Oh.
It's the one that did it first with Resident Evil 5.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah.
I really liked this because it still felt like Resident Evil at the time, even though they were going more action oriented, even though Chris punches a boulder famously. It was still Chris Redfield from the original game versus Wesker. It was like kind of a final showdown. He was the main baddie from the first game. And the co-op system I liked. I played it once briefly online with a friend of ours, and I really liked it. I liked the inventory system wasn't messed up like in 6. It was just a simple grid. So
you could trade too easily.
Yeah. As long as you were standing near your partner, you could just go, here you go. I think, were there still chests in that one? I can't fully remember, but
I can't I think there had to have been. Yeah.
So there was still this combination of old school Resident Evil, but here's a new modern age of co-op. You can now play with a friend. And I think it did it better than 6, surprisingly. Even though you still had tank controls.
Yeah, you had. Oh, you didn't have that in 6. You're right, because they finally graduated to dual stick controls. Yeah,
right?
You're right.
So yeah, I still enjoyed the some of the horror aspect of it. It was interesting because it was after, story-wise, it was after Umbrella went under, supposedly. But there was this new company that was coming up that was actually, I think, introduced in one of those CG movies, and come to find out they're also working with Umbrella, or like old Umbrella employees that are still doing their thing. So you're like, okay, I can see how this, even though we're in a completely different country with completely new enemy types, they weren't really zombies anymore. You could still feel the Resident Evil to it.
Yeah, I think 5 definitely had more tension than 6, because like you said, it was after 4. And this is kind of where people would say that Resident Evil jumped the shark, right? And this is where Resident Evil 5, it's sold just as much as 6. So that's why 6 was what it was, because 5 was so successful. But I think you're right. 5 is the one that was like the middle ground between literally 6 and 4.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's heavily action oriented, but still kind of rooted in Resident Evil. And 5 for me, I couldn't place it because I finished it and I didn't get to play it much in co-op, which I think is why I didn't place it on my list at all, is because it's a co-op heavy game, and it definitely is better co-op because the AI team member kind of isn't great.
Yeah.
I don't think she's very useful to you, and like I think she can die as well, if I recall correctly, or she gets like in an imperil situation.
I don't think so too much, because I beat it solo.
Oh, you did?
I played it co-op a little bit, but then I went back years later, and when I finished it, I was playing solo, and she didn't seem to get in my way too much. She also helped to just be extra pockets.
I guess it's true too. Yeah. And so I would say it's like a lower tier Resident Evil game for me, just because I didn't enjoy it as much as I hoped I would.
Well, yeah, that's why it's only 8/8 for me.
Yeah, exactly right. So I feel like that's probably like a good spot for it to be. Okay, so for my number 8, I put the original Resident Evil from 1996, the game that started it all.
Okay.
For me, like, again, a lot of this comes because of the fond memories I have for this game. I remember one of my friends at the time in middle school, like he had gotten it. I'd never heard of Resident Evil at the time. Like I didn't, I'd been reading magazines and this and that, but it was just totally out of my purview entirely. And he brought it over because he had a PS1 too, and he was like one of the few friends who had it. And I remember being in the room where there's all those paintings. It's like a hallway.
Oh yeah,
with the crows that were on the top, and you had to hit the switches on the paintings in a certain order, otherwise the crows would attack you.
Yeah.
So I remember vividly trying to solve that puzzle because I'd never played a game like this before in my life. Like, this was a totally foreign game to me. Like, I had no idea what you're supposed to do, why everything felt so, it was literal tank controls, right? Where everything was stiff. You were trying to shoot at crows. You couldn't really, because auto aim wasn't very good back then.
You couldn't. I don't think there was any at that
point. I don't know if it was in the original one. Maybe Director's Cut had it. But for me, this is what kicked it off. And my brother, being a huge horror fan, and granted he was 7 at the time, which is ridiculous. He was 7 years old. He loved this game.
Yeah.
So like, as soon as our friend brought it over, like, he was totally immersed in it. And for me, like, this game just kicked off my love for Resident Evil for obvious reasons. It was the first in the series, but for me, like, having a PS1 at the time, like, this was a major game, and eventually it took some time for the game momentum, and once it did, like, it led into Resident Evil 2, which we'll talk about pretty thoroughly soon enough. All right, Deucy, your lucky number 7.
So number 7 is going to be a game near and dear to your heart.
Ooh.
It's the original Resident Evil 3 from the first release, 1999.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I put that one down here because, I don't know, after Resident Evil 2, I liked it. I really liked it because it was more Resident Evil. And I really enjoyed that it was a side story picking up where Jill left off from the first game. And it even tied into, like, you revisit the police station that was in Resident Evil 2. So I was a big fan of this. Definitely feels in universe, and it's happening at the same time as 2. I know in the back of my head somewhere that Leon and Claire are doing their thing that I've already played through. But it was starting to get a little more actiony in that one.
Definitely.
And Nemesis, bravo to Capcom, because he scared the crap out of me. The first time I was playing the demo, I think from Dino Crisis, and I played the demo of Resident Evil 3. And the first time you go into one part of the police station, and I knew all of the police station like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
And you come around a turn, and because of the way the camera is situated, you see a window kind of foreground, and you're way in the back, and Nemesis just barrels through the window, like crouched. He has his rocket launcher ready, and you're just like, holy crap, I didn't know that could happen. So I run into the room right next to me. I'm like, haha, sucker. And I go in there, and then I go a little further, and the camera changes, so now that, like, where I just came from isn't on screen, and I hear the door open and close, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And there he is. He roars. He fires a rocket. I'm like, oh, crap. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. And I have to go running the rest of the way out into the main hall. And I'm like, man, if he comes through here too.
Well, let's not forget the iconic sound here. Because that would always tell you when you'd hear that stars that Nemesis was near. And that way I think was really effective about Resident Evil 3 was like, Nemesis, you felt like he could appear at any moment, any time. I think that's what made it so freaking good. Was I think all the criticisms are valid, right? If you want to call them those, where it's like it definitely felt like a side story. It's definitely more action oriented, but with Nemesis, they nailed what he was supposed to be. Like, I remember playing that game, and like you always had a little bit of anxiety because you'd hear him say stars, or you'd hear thumping in the somewhere else, and like you're like, where is he?
Yeah,
you're checking your inventory to make sure you have enough ammo or enough to survive. You have enough health, right? And like, I would say like they were extremely effective with what they did with Nemesis. Like that's really what made this game.
I enjoyed that they also introduced those branching paths, and a lot of the times it involved, do you knock him down or do you run? And a lot of the times I just ran. And that felt like what you were supposed to do. Like, this is what they wanted to instill in you, was that you can't beat him. Maybe you can later, but not right now. You better run.
Well, and the thing too that they did reward you, though, is like if you did confront him and you actually beat him, which beating him is loose term. It really just means you're sort of stunning him or kind of just knocking him out, sort of. You'd get a reward. Usually it was like crafting materials. I don't know if you got weapons and stuff. So you got a little bit of something for doing it. But
you got gun parts. That's what it was.
Yeah, gun parts, which I think you could craft in the ammo and whatnot. So that was cool. It was a little bit of incentive if you did want to confront him. Most times you didn't, because you knew that you'd probably be, wasting ammo, running low on ammo. And like, again, like this may be more action oriented, but you're still limited on ammo. And like, you can only find so many crafting materials too.
And it's funny because you could knock him down, get the gun parts. You had to knock him down in like 2 separate areas to get the full amount of gun parts for just one gun. And he would get back up.
Yeah.
So don't lollygag.
Yeah. You think he's dead, but he's really not. He's just taking a risk. You give him a little nap. My number 7 is the 2021 release Resident Evil Village, the 8th game in the series.
Okay, yeah.
So this one was released on PS5, PC, Mac, the Xbox One, Series X. There's a Switch port, believe it or not. I believe it's on Switch. It's a cloud game though. which means that's like it's running off a cloud server, which is probably not the best experience.
No.
And also, we'll mention it even though it's dead, but it was also released on the Stadia,
Ha!
and it's actually coming to iOS mobile phones with iPhone 15, believe it or not, which is nuts.
Oh, I've been hearing about that recently. Another podcast I listened to, they were saying, I think, what other game was coming out for it, and they were sitting there going, "Is this necessary?"
Yeah, it's the 4 remake and this.
Yeah.
But for me, this game, so actually right before I bought Village, I bought it on launch. I actually finished 7. Like I went back to it, made sure to finish and clean it up. It was a fantastic experience. 8 was. It's kind of like a mixture of Resident Evil 4 and 7, where this is a little bit more action oriented. Like things are a little bit faster because you're playing as Chris.
Oh,
right. And you're going through this village.
I did not even know that.
It's. Oh no, sorry. You play as Chris later. Excuse me. You play as Ethan in the beginning. Excuse me.
Okay. Yeah,
I got it backwards on there. Sorry. But yeah, you play as Ethan again, and there's like a merchant who kind of reminds you of someone in Resident Evil 4,
stranger.
right? Yeah. So he's like this insanely obese like guy who's sitting in like this carriage thing, right? He's got a crazy personality, and like this game has it's like it's more on the action side, but it's so freaking fun. Like it looks so great. The story's really nice. Towards the end, there's some cool references to the original story with like Spencer and the umbrella and
nice.
the mansion, right? Like there's a document that kind of references the origins of that, which I thought was great.
Awesome.
So it does tie it back to the original story beyond the fact that you're playing as Chris, because in the beginning of the story, Ethan, like this is post Resident Evil 7, he's just having his family life with his wife, who's now not crazy somehow, and then Chris, cured. I forgot the context of that.
I thought, wasn't it just because she wasn't like exposed to those spores? Or
anything? It was something like that. Like she wasn't infected anymore, and I think Ethan is somewhat resistant to it or something. And then Chris bursts through the door, steals your baby, and you're basically on the quest to get your baby back.
What?
Because you're like, why they kidnap my baby, right? And it's all this thing. But it's an excellent game. Like it feels great. It looks great. For me, like this, like as soon as I played, like I was just hooked on it. Like I just played right on through. I played through the DLC, which was pretty fun. Like it's a couple extra hours. Interestingly enough, they added a third-person mode to the game, like post-launch, which is really cool. Yeah, so the DLC is only in third person, which is a different experience, and then you can also play the whole game in first and third person as well.
That links it back to Resident Evil 4.
It does.
Yeah.
I don't think you've played this at all, have you? No? Oh, wait.
Yeah, this is a blind spot for me, and I want to get to it, but I haven't played it yet because I wanted to finish 7. But I don't know if I can ever, like, muster up the courage to finish 7 first.
It might have to be something like, maybe it'd be cool if, like, I don't know, like, I'll play it, like
I'll watch.
We'll do like back in the day where it's like we play a game and like one of us watches the other, just get through it kind of thing.
It's funny too because I've watched things on YouTube that are like the comprehensive timeline of Resident Evil, and they've put Resident Evil 7 into that timeline. So I've seen all the spoilers.
Yeah.
I don't remember all of them too much, but I still wanted to play through it and then go into 8.
Yeah.
So I haven't even touched it. Like I said, I didn't even know you played as Chris eventually or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a nice little twist, which, I won't spoil everything in there, but I mean, Chris is he's a big part of the story regardless. Yeah. So you do get to play as him later, and that's kind of when it's like the whole game isn't terribly difficult. Like I had a great time with it, and like there's only a few spots that were kind of hard and whatever, but nothing was cheap. And when you play as Chris, it's just like full, like, like when Samus gets her full suit. You basically get to mow through everything in front of you, right? It's a great sort of capstone of the whole game. All right, Deucy, we're at number 6. What's your number 6?
So my number 6, I hope we don't get any deja vu here. It's Resident Evil 3.
The remake?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, interesting. Yep. I didn't think that would make your list.
Yeah, and it's above the original because I kind of like it more. I know a lot of people said, "Nah, this ain't it," but I was like, "No, this is good." Nemesis is even more persistent. And it's also, I mean, it's just built on the engine that they used to do the Resident Evil 2 remake, which I really liked.
It's that RE engine that is just, I love that engine for all of Capcom's games. It's so freaking good.
And I just feel like it's more concise. Everybody was saying that it's too short. I'm like, no, the original might have been, I mean, the original was short compared to 1 and 2 at the time. But this, I feel like, is a good side story. Like, this is what was happening to Jill and Carlos in the meantime, and that's all it needed to be. And she kicks Nemesis's ass. Nemesis?
Nemesis. Nemesis sounds like a great like company name.
And kicks his ass, and then the government nukes Raccoon City. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, it's so I really liked the Resident Evil 3 remake, but I couldn't put it on my top 10. Kind of for almost like the opposite of what you just said, because for me, like I loved it as a side story. I think the changes aren't as bad as people make it out to be, right? And I always say that, like, whenever I read that online, like I understand now it's just like a very vocal minority of people, because this game still sold a bunch, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right. And some criticisms are valid, but I also won't dismiss this game because it didn't have certain sections that were probably fluff in the original to begin with. But for me, I thought Nemesis was much less of a threat here than the original game for me. But that's also like I should have played on hard or something or whatever, or professional, right? Because when I played through it, like I didn't have too much difficulty. Like I thought the boss fights were, just right difficulty wise. But Nemesis, when I encountered him, like between the mobility you have to avoid him, it made it so much less. It induced so much less anxiety because he just didn't feel like he could really catch me and kill me as well, or as easily.
That's true. You didn't have the tank controls like slowing you down, because he could dash in the original.
He could,
and you're sitting there trying to slowly turn and then kind of walk, run.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, I think they even have the dodge mechanic.
I think it's like a perfect dodge almost, where if you see it pop up, you can dodge, which is pretty generous, right? Yeah. And also, like, you have you have modern movement, so it's a lot easier to dodge them and get out of the way. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad game. It's just, for me, like, I love it, but I don't love it enough to make it like a top 10 Resident Evil game.
I haven't finished this one, just like 7, but I do enjoy the showdowns with him, Nemesis specifically, feel a lot more varied than the original.
The boss fights are, for sure.
And like there's that one, I think I'm at it currently, where you're by the clock tower and he's like running around up top.
Oh, that was a great boss fight.
And like in the original game, he just sort of wandered at you and you just had to pump everything into him. Whereas in this one, you have to like knock him off the wall and then like mess him up while he's on the ground. Then he'll get up and you have to do it again. And same with the final battle. I've watched that on videos and stuff, and I'm like, this is neat compared to just standing still and shooting him.
So the final battle, I swear mine must have been glitched or something, because it was the easiest final battle I've ever had in a Resident Evil game. Because I think what it happened, so for me, like, this game was pretty short, but again, I don't necessarily think short games are bad. They're only bad when I feel like they should have been longer.
Yeah.
And this, I think I finished in like 7 hours or something like that, like in just one run. But it felt good at that point. Like, it didn't feel like it was underwhelming, or that I guess it could have been longer because I enjoyed it. But I wouldn't say it's a huge negative. But the boss fights were good. But anyway, like the final boss fight, like I think I was hit and I was stunned for whatever brief moment, and like you have to push in, I think, like these it's like railgun ammo or something like that,
or like the battery packs.
The battery packs, yeah, something like that. So I remember I got hit from him, and I was able just to push the battery pack in without getting touched ever again. And I turned on the railgun where it was, and he was dead. I was like, that was it? Like, I think that's a glitch. This should have been a lot more difficult than it was.
You're supposed to hit him like 2 or 3 times with the railgun.
Well, I don't know how many times I hit him, but I feel like I didn't get hit at all in that last fight. It was one try and I beat him.
I have watched people when they're doing it, they don't get hit as much because they've like lured him a certain way, and then they run and do something else, or they've knocked him out, they've stunned him a little, and then they go and push it real quick. So it is possible to do it without getting hit. But yeah, like it shouldn't be a one and done.
Well, that's what I mean. Well, I mean, it took whatever hits it was, but it was like it took me one try to beat him is what I meant to say. Like, it was very just, I beat him, and that part was underwhelming. It's like, that was it? Like, I expected another phase or something,
Well, I do remember I beat the original in the first try. I did have a guide at the time telling me what I had to do. Mm-hmm. And I forgot that it was fairly similar to the way this remake is. Like, yeah, although in a much bigger room, and you have to like, it's like a maze, and you have to run to each battery thing at different corners. Whereas on this one, it's just on 2 different sides. Mm-hmm. And then you had to line him up in that middle spot. Whereas in this one, he's already there. But yeah, I enjoyed both final battles. Like watching this one and then playing the other one.
Yeah, like I said, I really have nothing bad to say about the game that really makes it a bad game. Like, I would love to play through it again. It's just, for me, it it just missed the mark of like a top 10 Resident Evil game. Even though I would probably put it close to the top 10. Like I would say like, you know, maybe in retrospect, maybe I should put that there instead of Resident Evil 6. But you know, it is what it is. My number 6 is the 2001, in my eyes, classic Resident Evil Code Veronica X on the PS2. So I was almost going to put the Dreamcast version on here because, you know, I got that first, and that holds a special place in my heart because it was on the Dreamcast, and that's one of my favorite systems ever. But the Code Veronica X version on PS2. So Resident Evil Code Veronica was actually supposed to be Resident Evil 3 in its original inception. And then it ended up being a Dreamcast exclusive because I believe they had a contract with Sega to say like they needed a Resident Evil game on there.
Yeah.
And the big thing with Code Veronica is that this was the first fully 3D Resident Evil game. We didn't talk too much about it because we didn't go dive into it, but the original games were, you know, like 3D models over a pre-rendered background. So everything just has like the static background look. You know, it looks nice back then, but now it really sticks out because they're all like low-res images that you're walking on.
Yeah.
So Code Veronica had the first distinction of being the game that was fully 3D. Everything was rendered in 3D. There was no pre-rendered, you know, areas. Everything was 3D. And this was also, to me, the most difficult Resident Evil game that's ever been made.
Yes, I could agree.
Yeah, and then this one you so in this one you start as Claire Redfield. You're out looking for your brother Chris. This is post Resident Evil 2. So that's why it makes sense that it's supposed to be a sequel and just kind of got this subtitle of Code Veronica. And it's almost like a side story, you would think, but because it's a sequel that you don't really know is a sequel, like it's sort of starting a new story in there.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got this, like it was the first huge Resident Evil game after 3, and I played it on Dreamcast, and then the PS2 port came out. And another thing that I love about this port is that it came with the demo for Devil May Cry, which is also a reason why I put it over the Dreamcast version, which is just my little toot there. But Code Veronica X, it had like a whole different scenario. There's more cutscenes with Wesker. The graphics look a little bit better because it's on PS2 and they had an extra year of development time. I say this is the most difficult Resident Evil game because on the Dreamcast version, I haven't beaten it. I watched my brother beat it, but I got this game. This game comes from a time where it's easy to sort of screw yourself depending on how you save, what items you have. Like this game you really need to have multiple saves. And unfortunately, I learned that lesson too late when I first played this on Dreamcast. I got to the final last boss in the game. And I had a knife, I had some garbage SMGs that do little damage with little ammo, and I had an aid spray. I never finished the game because I physically could not beat the last boss.
Pro mode.
Yeah, this really was. Now, I'm sure it's entirely possible to beat the game with just the knife. I wasn't good enough back then to do it as like a 14-year-old. Yeah, there's speedrunners. Yeah. And then on PS2, like knowing that, right? I already had that in my head. Like I have to save multiple times, I have to do whatever, right? I beat it, and to me, like this is sort of like the definitive version of Code Veronica for me. And you know, this was also ported on the GameCube and Dreamcast. It was on the PS3 and 360 as an HD edition. You could still find on Xbox Series X for like $4.
I think I have it.
I did too. I got it because Resident Evil 6 came with the archive collection, so I had Code Veronica and a bunch of other games on there. And then there's also a port on PS5 and PS4 you can play. It's a HD port of the PS2 version, which is weird to say, but it's not an HD version. It's like a cleaned up PS2 version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it was ahead of its time because it looks so good. You don't even care.
It did look great. Like I think it had the Mercenaries mode, which I don't think it had been done before. Like it was a separate mode where like it's like endgame content where like you play as different characters and get like the highest score by going through areas.
Didn't they have that in 3?
Did they? Oh, you're right. It wasn't 3.
Yeah.
You're right. I do remember that. Yeah, you're right. So for me, like Code Veronica, it's one of those games it needs a remake desperately. This is the one Resident Evil game that I think of all the ones that have been released, this one is mostly forgotten in a way. But Capcom, I know, is listening to it because the cries are getting louder and louder for a remake.
Well, yeah, because they keep touching on everything else. They'll probably do 5 and 6 before they touch Code Veronica.
That would
for
be
some
hilarious
reason.
if they did. Yeah, I would actually be bitter about that too at this point.
I don't want to say too much on it right now because coming in at number 5, Resident Evil Code Veronica X for PS2.
It wasn't that far off. That probably means that's a nice spot for it to be.
It's it cracks my top 5 because of everything you've just said. Like it was the true sequel to Resident Evil 2. and it was a difficult challenge because I'd already mastered, quote unquote, 2 and 1 and even 3 to a little bit, not to the extent that you did that one, but but I couldn't play Code Veronica right away. Like, I had to borrow your entire Dreamcast.
That's right. I remember. And I gave you the Game Shark with the dongle and all that garbage.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I also couldn't beat it without the Game Shark cheats. I just wanted to... I mostly wanted to use that to make it easier so I could blaze through it and give you your system back.
Yeah.
But just like you, but in a different way, I screwed myself at the end where I had the infinite ammo cheat on there. And at the end, there's some sort of key that is a dragonfly. And you have to get...
I do remember that key, yes.
You have to get the wings. You have to get 4 wings and put it onto the key, combine them, now you have this key. The way the infinite ammo worked was that, like, anything that required a tiny number to tell you
like those
how much...
quantifiable, essentially?
Yeah. That would become infinite. And
so you had infinite wings?
And if you moved the wing to a different square in your inventory, now that was infinite.
Oh my goodness.
And you could accidentally... I stopped, but I also couldn't, like, get rid of them. You could end up making your entire inventory just infinite wing squares. And I was like, oh, crap. And I think the placement I couldn't unload them in the chest or anything. And I was just like, I'm done for. I can't get other guns for the final boss into my inventory spaces because I don't have any inventory spaces left.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely the biggest blemish on this game is just how easily it is to really put yourself in a corner where you can't finish the game.
Yeah.
Whether it's, because you're low on whatever resources you have or because of, granted you use Game Shark, but there are other situations where you'll end up, if you're not careful, you're screwed. Like, there's no way to come back because it's not like you could, retrace most of your steps and go back to a previous area too much. Like, it's limited in that regard. And it's not like it's going to regenerate more items. It's not like you'll wait, 10 minutes and get more ammo or health or something. It's just, you've got what you got and that's it.
Yeah. And I put the PS2 version actually on my list because I could finally own it. Like, I never got a Dreamcast. And so I could finally own this. And then I played it and I loved the little additions, like the extra Wesker time. It was basically when, Matrix was popular. And all of Wesker's cutscenes were like, he's freaking Neo.
Yeah,
and
jumping off walls.
Yeah.
Like the shadow effect where it looks like he was going so fast. And all that. Yeah.
And you already know that Veronica is, or not Veronica, Alexia?
Alexia.
She's got the Veronica virus in her, and she's going to be the big baddie. But here comes Wesker, the original big baddie, and you were like, yes, throw down. And then Chris comes into the picture, and you're like, yes, these two need to face off. And it was just that little extra oomph that the game needed, and that's what put it on my list for me over the Dreamcast.
Yeah, that's really the same reason why I put X on mine, because the Dreamcast, like, I love the Dreamcast version, but you're right, like, X was like all right, well, we have some extra time, let's like fix some things, let's add some things as well, like, let's make this the best version of Code Veronica that we could do. And that's ultimately what they did, and unfortunately that's like the last time we really saw that game. Yeah,
that is a shame.
It is. I would love to play that again. My number 5, Deucy, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the 1999 hit.
There we
as
go.
We'll say. I know you expected on my list.
Yeah.
So this game for me was again significant because this was obviously right after Resident Evil 2. I was just craving more Resident Evil at this point. Like, we had played 2 so much, beaten it multiple times. 3, despite being a side story, it was significant to me for all the reasons you mentioned too, where it's like you had the stories that were interspersed with what was happening in Resident Evil 2, which we were already familiar with from end to end. So it was really cool seeing those locations pop up again, seeing some, like the RCPD, some of the city even looked exactly the same. I think you passed by is it Kendo's gun shop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like all those familiar locations really just tied it together for me and really told you that, like, this was an ongoing story that was, beyond the characters you're playing in 2, right? Like, it's still persisting through other people, and it's great to see a different side of the story. But it's interesting that, like, in 3, Nemesis is around, but you don't see that in Resident Evil 2. Like, Nemesis wasn't around then. But at the same time, Nemesis was out to find stars, which makes sense narratively, right?
Yeah, I think they did a good job pointing that out in the beginning.
Yeah. And going back to people complaining about Resident Evil 3, the remake being short, I can tell you this game is not long because when you finish the game, you unlock these epilogue portraits. Like they're just like single screen portraits with like these, sort of like post story, paragraph of what happens to certain characters. There were, I think, 9 of them or 10 of them. I unlocked all of them, which means I beat the game 9 or 10 times in a row. Not in a row, like back to back to back, but like,
But pretty close.
Pretty close. So I got to a point where I was getting through the game in like 2 hours, maybe. I don't remember. It was pretty short.
You could speed run this one.
Yeah, I was like, kind of speed running it without realizing I was speed running it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get all the epilogue cards. So for me, like, I knew this game end to end back then. Like, it is. I played the hell out of it. My brother was watching me. I was watching him play it. Like, we had the guide and everything. Like, this was...
Eventually, you didn't even need the
We
guide.
didn't even need the guy. Yeah, you remember that stupid water puzzle towards the end of the game where like you had the 3.
Oh yeah.
You had those 3 levels and you had
Yeah.
to match them up so they would have the same shape and it would pass the puzzle. Like I could do that with my eyes closed at a certain point. Like I knew exactly what to do on there. But again, like I was at peak Resident Evil fever at this point after 2. So this was more Resident Evil. I didn't mind the short length. Everything about this game was what I wanted at the time. All right, Deucy, we're winding down here slowly but surely. You're number 4.
So number 4 might be a surprise to you, but this one was a great. I was waiting for years for this to come out. Resident Evil 2, the remake.
Oh, okay.
In
Yeah.
2019, and because at the time, like Resident Evil got soured by 6, and then 7 came out. We were like, oh, great. But it just
Like it's still hope.
it did not have that classic Resident Evil feel. And then they finally announced the Resident Evil 2. Everybody was like talking about it, whispered rumors and everything. And then they finally showed it, and it was freaking amazing. It was probably one of the most recent and maybe last games that I got super excited for. And I played it at first when it first came out. I couldn't wait. And then I set it aside because I didn't have time, and I really wanted to sit down and play it, but I didn't have time. And I ended up getting like the unlock everything key. For like $2.99.
It's like $2 or something.
And I was like, I'm just gonna do this, and then I'm gonna play through it because I want to see this game. And then I ended up playing it kind of like you did with Resident Evil 3. I just every possible way that you could be, like Leon A into Claire B, Claire B into Leon A. Then at one point I just wanted to play with certain character skins. At one run through, I just did all rocket launcher. I was like, screw these zombies, get out of my way.
Yeah, you were just like you're playing Contra almost at that point.
Yeah. I put it down here at 4 though because it wasn't quite the full remake of Resident Evil 2 that I wanted. When that one came out, and I'll probably talk about this later, but like I loved the way that they interwove the 2 stories of Leon and Claire. And when you played as one, you would meet up with the other person every once in a while. And then you beat it and you got to go through that other thing that
It's
they
like
did.
a different perspective within the game.
And you run into those parts where you met yourself in the first game. And you could even, if you got a certain item in one, that would leave it for the other person, which was incredible at the time of that release. They didn't really do that in Resident Evil 2, the remake. Like, they had a Leon A and a Claire B mode, or a Claire A and a Leon B, and it didn't make sense.
It was a lot more condensed is what it was.
It just, like, when you really sat and thought about the narrative and, like, how somebody's doing this, how could the other person be doing that you already played through? And it didn't feel like it fit as well as the original game. And I know it was probably because they wanted to spend all this time on the narrative, which they changed a little. They had new locations, which was awesome. Mr. X came in, and he was basically Nemesis, like a prototype Nemesis. He was crashing through walls and chasing you through rooms constantly. But they didn't want to focus on the A and B stories because it was going to be way too long, and you didn't have the 2-disc system or anything like
They
that.
probably thought it was gonna be redundant too, because it was a lot of the same back then.
Yeah. And like I said, the new locations were character specific, whereas in that one the new locations were side specific, like A or B side. So yeah, it wasn't. I loved it, and I liked all the new stuff that they added. I didn't think anything was like not needed. It was great. Like you had more of the Chief Irons thing with Sherry and stuff like that, but it just wasn't quite the original.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I mean, I'll talk about that soon enough.
Yeah.
But I have some similar, I have similar things to say about it, but not as heavily on there. But for my number 4, perfectly appropriate, the Resident Evil 4 remake, which was released in 2023.
Nice.
So I didn't put the original Resident Evil 4 in here because I love that game. It's really good. To be transparent, I never finished it. I got close to the end, right? But I watched multiple friends and my brother beat it several times. Like I gotten like this was Resident Evil 4 the original was the game, but I didn't get through it at the time, so it was unfortunate. But Resident Evil 4 remake, when it came out this year, I was just hooked the moment I played it. Like again, this is sort of a different bar for remakes for me now. Like Capcom has just been insane over the last few years with all of their releases. Like they've just been so freaking good. Like there really hasn't been a quiet one or one that's really been bad. And this game was a perfect modernization of the original Resident Evil 4. Like everything's been refined. Like the locations look obviously 20 years later, almost 20 years later, a lot better. The gunplay just feels perfect. For me, I think this game is a lot more difficult in the beginning than it is later on. Like I would say once you get to that beginning church part, or once you get past that church part, when you ring the bell at the beginning, it's a lot easier for me at least. But I think everything was like designed so well that like, all the levels fit with each other. The story was what it was. Like it's different. Like now there's a plague, and like it's sort of like revolving around the cult with the Granado, I think it is, right? Everything about this game was just like freaking great. Like I played through it like right on through. I think it was like a 20-hour game, and it didn't feel like it. All the chapters were just interspersed in such a way that was just like like it was like 2 a.m. one time. I was just like sitting there playing. It's like, God, this is so freaking good. Like because again, it's like it iterates on the whole action thing with Resident Evil 4 and just makes it so much better and so much more fun to play. And for me, like I've been wanting to go back to it because it's one of those games where I actually would like to finish it like on professional or something, because I feel like that the game is designed so well and balanced so well that like I can do that.
Yeah.
Because the first run was wasn't terribly difficult. There were some difficult spots, but it was just everything they did was just flawless in this game. Deucy, top 3. We're getting near here. Give us your number 3.
The podium finishers. Number 3, once again, is gonna be some deja vu, and I'm sure some friends of ours probably don't like that it's happening on our top 10 list this way. But
we got lots to say though, Deucy. We got lots to say.
My number 3 is a tie.
Oh, a tie. I didn't have any ties on my list. Here we go.
Well, it's kind of a tie.
A loose tie.
Resident Evil 4, the original and the remake.
Oh, okay. You combined them. All right.
Yeah, because, I mean, what you said about the remake, it fits with all the remakes that have been happening, 2, 3, and now 4. But for me, I did not feel, because I beat the original, I didn't feel that it was too much of a departure the way 2 and 3 have been from their originals, because it didn't have to be. Like 2 and 3 were original Resident Evil with the pre-rendered backgrounds and the tank controls. Resident Evil 4 came out as the new turning point of Resident Evil after Code Veronica and everything.
It was a huge deal.
Huge deal. You had the over-the-shoulder look. Sure, that it was still sort of tanky controls where you had to stop and really shoot, which I'm glad they got rid of in this remake.
My brother was disappointed that they did.
Wow.
But they have a control scheme.
Actually, that I kind of don't like it also, because when I was playing this remake, I was dying a lot more because you really have to be accurate now.
Yeah.
And these guys are coming at you faster than zombies. and even the slightest twitch, all of a sudden your little laser sight misses, and I'm like, come on, this guy is from me to you right now. I'm pretty sure I could have nailed him in the head. Like,
to illustrate, Deuce and I are like 3 feet away. We're not that far apart.
We're at a card table.
Yeah.
So, but I do enjoy that it got remade with all the modern graphics and the modern shooting, and just the update to story elements. Like the president's daughter is now of age, so so Luis is not creepy in the game.
I'm glad they did that, because there's people on the internet who complain about that. I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, you're freaking clowns. Like, just don't forget your clown shoes on the way out, for God's sake.
It's just I do enjoy the updates that they made to it, but I don't feel like it was a complete change, a complete overhaul. So that's why I had to combine them, because I really enjoyed Resident Evil 4 for what it did back then and what it's doing now. But yeah, like, not too much different.
Yeah, you're right. Like, Resident Evil 4 Remake is, it's like 4 refined as well as remade, right? Like, 4 was, 4 in its own right was an insanely influential game. Like, that's one thing we don't want to understate here, is like, when 4 came out, that was really the first game that influenced like those games with the over the camera shoulder, right? That influenced like Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah.
And basically any game after that where it has an over the shoulder cam where you're aiming, you can thank Resident Evil 4 for that. And like that's the thing, is this game, you're right, broke a lot of barriers at the time, because it was the anti-Resident Evil. This is after Code Veronica. And I don't think there's anything after Code Veronica, right? This 4 was right after, more or less?
Yes.
05. So
yeah.
This was like a reinvention of Resident Evil from the ground up. Like, you're playing as Leon. Again, that 3D environments. They have the over-the-shoulder aiming and shooting. There's now chapters, right? Like, each level is a level, so to speak. It's a huge game. Like, this Resident Evil 4 is considerably longer than any Resident Evil game before. Like, it's a solid 15, 20-hour game just on your first run.
Which is surprising. I mean, it's definitely longer than 3. But I played the original, beat it, and I must have forgotten a lot, because I didn't feel that long compared to 2 for me. But 2 was also like 2 games back to back. But yeah, 4 is actually, I think, longer than 5, probably.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
4. And again, the reason I like 4 is because there's some games that are 18, 20 hours, whatever, that overstay their welcome.
Yeah.
And everything in 4 with the original and the remake, like they pace it in such a way where it just feels like it rolls along, right? There's not really any lulls necessarily.
No, because they keep introducing newer enemies that bring in a new strategy that you're gonna need, and they pace those out pretty well.
And the environments are, they're all pretty different. Like, you go through different, like, you start from the beginning, it's sort of like this middle of nowhere forest kind of thing, and you eventually go to like those. It almost looks like those rampart kind of medieval churches and stuff, right?
Old castles.
Even. Yeah, like castles, and like it. There's a lot of diversity in the game that really makes it a pleasure to play through 18 hours. Like, a lot of games can't say that. And Resident Evil 4, original and remake, have done that just perfectly. My number 3, Deucy, I guess another repeat, we'll say, because there's only so many games, but this is inevitable. It's really just, again, this
was the cream of the crop.
This is our cream of the crop, top 3. I have to put it here. It's the Resident Evil 2 remake from 2019.
Oh, okay. We just swapped those.
We more or less swapped those, yeah. For me, like, I remember when this game was announced. Actually, I was on a work trip in Chicago in an airport waiting for my flight. And I saw the trailer come up, and I pretty much like lost my shit at the time, because I was texting you right after. I was like, they announced it. There's a remake coming. Resident Evil 2 is finally coming.
You probably sent me the link immediately.
I think I did. I'm sure I did. And for me, like, this game, like, we've been waiting for this. There's rumors of it. We knew that it was going to be something special. And when it released, it really was. Like, this was, for me, like, I was looking forward to this release. Like, there's some games where they release now, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm excited for it. But this was like, I was like almost counting down the days for this game to come out. Like, I knew it was going to be, just an astounding game. And it did everything right. Like, it went back to the original's horror elements, the survival. Again, like, the atmosphere was just second to none. Like, you're walking through these dark areas with like your flashlight, and like, you see like the sort of like the drizzle and like just, dust cascading through there. And like, there's jump scares. Everything they did about this is what a remake should have been for the Resident Evil 2 game.
Yeah.
But with that said, you're right. Like, I do miss they called it the zapping system, where it's like you could beat the game with one character and basically go through the entire game in another route. But they simplified it here, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but it just doesn't feel as conjoined as it was before. Like, it just feels like it's like a side story more than like a second experience from another perspective.
Yeah.
And just to be on that, like, I love this game, but it can get really freaking hard on the B scenarios, on those second scenarios. Like,
Oh yeah.
I was, I knew going into this that I had to be conservative with ammo and, of whatever resources I find. And despite that, like, I was still screwed. Like, Mr. X, in this game, Mr. X is more of a threat than Nemesis was in the Resident Evil 3 remake for me.
Or even the original Resident Evil.
Or
3.
even the original Resident Evil 3, exactly. Yeah. Like, Mr. X is what I think he should have been, what Nemesis should have been in the Resident Evil 3 remake for sure.
Yeah.
But for me, like, this hit all the right notes. It did everything right that I was supposed to, and like I would pick this up and play it all over again. Like, I love this remake; it's fantastic.
The remake of 2 had the same issue that the remake of 4 had for me, where the aiming really relies on you, and here I am like, the zombies are slow. They're slow zombies, but they take a lot more bullets than
they sure feel like it
than the enemies in 4.
Yeah,
and that's like, I started Resident Evil 2 remake on normal, and when I didn't have enough ammo after the first gas station, I was like, okay, let's drop this down to easy. And I got a little further. I got to like the first William fight, and that was when I was running low on ammo, and that's when Mr. X gets involved. I'm like, damn it, give me that key, give me the rocket launcher.
Yeah, this remake is definitely difficult, at least for me. Like, it's I think it's tuned right, but you really have to be mindful of your resources, and like, it seems like they really want you to rely on the knife, which sucks because the knife isn't good. Like, it's supposed to be a slash, and like, you're supposed to run and everything, but
I would definitely like knock the zombies down and then slash at them more than I ever did in the original game.
Yeah, that was the old strategy back then.
In the original game, the knife took up an item slot, and those are precious.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. All right, Deucy, we're making our way here. Your number 2, please.
So my top 2, I bet, are similar to yours.
It might be the same. I'm curious.
Maybe the same, maybe swapped, just like our 3 and 4. My number 2 is the Resident Evil remake on GameCube.
That's it. Number 2 for me. I knew it. I knew one of these had to line up.
And I mean, it was very close to number 1, but I think this was perfect when it comes to remakes. It was 6 years after the original?
2002. Yeah.
On a new system generation, and it wasn't just better graphics. It was like from top to bottom remade, like the name says. And they even added elements that weren't in the original story.
Yeah, with like Lisa Trevor and
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
It still made sense. It really delved into Spencer and why the mansion is the way it is. And it's GameCube. Like, nobody expected that from Nintendo.
Well, and in addition to that too, like, I want to spend time on like how gorgeous this game was back then. To me, this game is I've used the word blueprint before, but this is like the blueprint for how to remake games in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that time, there was games that were they were remakes, but they weren't called remakes, right? They're probably just enhanced versions or something. Like, this felt like the first game where they said, like, we're taking what we did 6 years ago, and we're building it from the ground up specifically for this system so it could take advantage of everything on there. It wasn't a port, it was made from the ground up.
Yeah.
This game, despite the HD ports, or excuse me, the HD remasters it has, and all the versions that have come out since the GameCube one, if you go back to that GameCube version, it still holds up today, 20 years later. It looks amazing for the type of game it is.
I mean, it still has the tank controls of the original, which probably don't hold up compared to the remakes of 2 and 3, but it didn't matter at the time because back then when it came out, we were still used to those controls for all Resident Evil games. 4 hadn't come out yet. Yeah. So we were perfectly fine with that. We're like, yeah, I'm used to this, but now it looks prettier.
Yeah, and this was definitely a game that my brother and I were eyeing the whole time it was announced. By the time it was released, like, we went to like Electronics Boutique at the time and picked up a pre-order, right? And like, the moment we started up, we were just glued because it was everything that the first game was as far as an experience, but to like level 100 at this point. Like, it was 10 times bigger than what it was. The lighting effects were just ridiculous. Like you could go through like a hallway and light would flicker and like would cast light on Jill and Chris.
Yeah.
They added new gameplay mechanics, like the defensive items were like I think Chris had a grenade and he could stuff it in their mouths or something.
It was
right?
like a flash grenade.
It was a flash grenade, and then Jill had a knife she could stab in the neck. It's like
Yeah.
so if you're being, grabbed by a zombie and chewed on, you could mash buttons to shrug them off. Or if you just want to save some health, you could stab them in the neck with a knife.
Yep.
They were disposable and you could find them more, but that was an option. In addition to that,
and they didn't take up item spaces.
they didn't.
So
It was like a subspace, really. Like
Yeah.
it was like it was an extra item. They introduced Crimson Head zombies, which were like the most terrifying thing ever because
yeah, those got kind of annoying to me.
they were annoying. Because with these zombies, it was like when you would kill a zombie, it would drop to the ground. And as another side on you had the I think it was like a flask with gasoline in it or something, and you would pour it on there and light them on fire with the lighter. Again, another awesome mechanic because you could choose to burn that. Of course, you have limited fuel because you could refill it at the gas cans and safe rooms and whatnot. But if you didn't do that, you run the risk of a zombie getting back up, basically sort of reanimating a reanimated, human.
Yeah.
And it was a Crimson Head because it had like a red color and it was much more dangerous
It had
and it could go
claws.
through rooms.
Yeah. And that was, it added a level of strategy to it where like you're sitting there thinking, am I going to come back through this room? You could leave the zombie dead because you're never going to go through that room again. Or you're like, okay, I have to go through here 2 or 3 times. I better just burn him.
Yeah.
You could also, even before you burn him, you could try to shoot their heads off. You could decapitate them, which is harder in those days because you couldn't manually aim.
Yeah, it was relying on like auto aim. And then also I think there was probably some sort of behind the scenes thing with the guns where like they only could pop off heads with a certain percentage, right?
It was like
it's probably like shotguns had a much higher percentage of popping heads off.
I don't even know if
versus
a pistol could. Like it'd have to be the more powerful weapon.
I think so. Yeah. So everything that was in this game was just more thoughtful. Like they changed some of the puzzles up. They kind of cleaned up some of the translation. I believe all the the voices were re-recorded.
Yeah.
So the voice acting, it's not like stellar, but it's considerably better than what it was in the original. Like the music's redone. Like again, like this was the remake of remakes back then, and for me, this is still like the gold standard of remakes. Like this influenced other remakes in my eyes. Like for me, this is not only is this like my number 2 Resident Evil game, but it's like it's definitely like one of my top games ever. I don't know where I'd place like top 10, 30, whatever. But it is that great of a game to me.
It could be for me really high on games in general. It has definitely replaced the original as far as canon for me.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Even though Lisa, I think she's briefly mentioned in the Resident Evil 2 remake in a note or something. Obviously, she wasn't a part of any of the other games, 2, 3, Code Veronica, because this came out after those. But to me, that's still all canon in there. And I'm like, yes, this is the definitive edition. This is the director's cut. Everything you could put into that.
And one of the great things about this game, I will say too, is that it's playable on nearly everything now. Like there's a Switch version, not a cloud version, but like you could play it on your Switch. It's on Steam. It works on Steam Deck very, very well. It's on all the modern systems because they've re-released it so many times. And that's also, to me, like that's also a testament how good this was. That fact that they've re-released it on like pretty much every generation in one way or another. Like it was re-released on Xbox and 360 and PS3.
Oh yeah,
it was re-released on PS4 and Xbox One at the time. And but by backwards compatibility, they're playable on the current gen systems. It was re-released on the Switch. So to me, like these, this game would have died long ago if it was a forgotten kind of game that that didn't have any footprint on gaming. But to me, like that speaks to how groundbreaking of a remake this was to me. If you could play it anywhere now, like Doom, for instance, it's worthwhile.
I tried playing it again recently when I got it on Xbox One, and it was hard because
it's difficult.
I'm not used to the tank controls anymore.
Yep.
Those used to be second nature to me. And then I tried to do they updated it where, it's the directions.
It's analog controls.
Yeah, relative to where the camera is. Do not ever do that.
I quickly stopped that because that I call it the Devil May Cry problem because that's the first game I remember encountering it where if the camera is, let's say it's like to your right and you're holding down to go down, the moment the camera shifts, because these are static camera angles, they aren't dynamic or free roaming, it changes the angle. So if the camera is facing your right and it's facing your left now, Dante will all of a sudden go in like some other direction.
Maybe right back to the previous screen.
Yeah, right back to the previous screen, which is what happens in the Resident Evil remake as well, because their static cameras. The game wasn't designed to have 3D analog controls.
No.
So I turned it off immediately for that same reason. Like I was just like going backwards and forwards. Like I was probably dying more often as a result of the controls.
It's like I'm just gonna run away from this guy. Oh no, I'm right back into his arms.
Yeah. So definitely like definitely seek this out if you haven't played it. I think it's an excellent game overall. Like it's like the definition of survival horror. I freaking love this game. All right, Deucy, this is it. This is our number one choice. I have a faint feeling this might be another same one. I don't know why.
Probably,
but
because we haven't mentioned it yet.
We haven't mentioned it yet. So please go ahead and bestow us with I think our number one.
It can't be anything other than the original Resident Evil 2.
There it is. That's my number one. That's it.
Yep. I'm actually kind of surprised you put it up this high, but for me, it's my number one because it introduced me to everything, like I said. And it was my first PlayStation game when I bought your old PlayStation off of you.
That's right.
Even when it wouldn't load properly before I knew how to turn it upside down. This, like you mentioned, Resident Evil might be in your top something. For all-time games, this has got to be in my top 5, maybe 10 of all games
totally
ever.
Fair though, totally warranted.
And it just totally sucked me in. In fact, I had never even heard of Resident Evil 1 when I watched you play Resident Evil 2 on your PlayStation at the time, and I was like, what is this game? This is amazing. I don't care that it's scary or zombies. I want to play more of this too. And I can't even remember when I played Resident Evil the original after it. But it's a good thing I played 2 first. Because one was cheesy as hell with the voice acting, and it was difficult.
It was definitely a harder game, and even then, because it was kind of like in the first game, which we're going backwards, but it's like Chris was like the hard mode, and Jill was the easier mode, but they're still really difficult. And 2 was like, all right, maybe that's too hard. Let's dial things back.
2, no matter who you chose, Leon or Claire, I think Leon was probably the easy mode because of the guns you got.
Yeah.
But they were both, like, they both had the same number of item slots, and they both went through the same paces no matter where you went. So it didn't matter. I always think of Claire A, Leon B as canon, but it was just, like, indescribable at the time. I wanted to find every piece of lore, like all the clippings
all the notes
and everything. And which, like I said, I didn't realize that was a carryover from the first game. When I played that one, I wanted to do the same. It was the first time I had ever experienced a game like that with all this extra stuff. And then to have the story that it did really connect with the first game made me want to go back and play it, made me want to play sequels in the future. I couldn't wait for those to come out. I just wanted more and more of it. Yeah,
this game, I vividly remember, again, getting this because my brother and I were excited. I think this came out in 1998 on PS1, and it was like early. I think it was January 1998, which is funny because I texted my brother, like, which is crazy. We're talking January. We're in freaking October now, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I was like, hey, it's the 25th anniversary of Resident Evil 2. It's awesome, right? It's January. But we got it around launch time because it was the same thing. Like, we had played Resident Evil 1, and we didn't. I don't think we'd finished it, a ton back then. Like, we finished it maybe once or twice. We weren't that into it. And 2 is really what kickstarted and solidified my love for Resident Evil, because it was a little bit. We use this word, a lot here, action oriented, but they really did make an effort to make this a little bit more like an action movie, but still rooted very much in survival horror. Mm-hmm. And they succeeded on like every front at the time. Like this, I have so many vivid memories about this game. Like I remember, for me, like, in middle school, like I'd be in the auditorium or something. They were having like an assembly or like a talent show. I was sitting there reading through the guide, that double-sided guide, looking at things.
That was the best guide.
It was. Maybe I'll post that or something too. But it was a double-sided guide, and like I was going through there because we were playing through it, and like it had all the items in there. It had like all the notes in there and stuff.
It didn't it didn't have a very comprehensive section for B mode.
It didn't. Well, because it was a double-sided guide, so you'd flip it over and it had Claire's walkthrough, and the other side was Leon. So, yeah, it was. I think it was much more abridged. Like it was probably just like, here's all the steps to get through it, kind of thing.
Here's the parts that are different from A.
Yeah.
But like you with Resident Evil 3, eventually I didn't even need a guide for 2.
We did. Yeah. And this thing is. So beyond the zapping system we talked about, where it's like you go through a scenario with like Leon and you unlock scenario B with Claire, and then vice versa. If you beat Claire's A scenario, you unlock Leon's B scenario. So you see sort of different perspectives, and you also get a true ending if you beat, I think, all 4 of them. Or
no,
I
think
two of them.
You just had to do 2 of them.
Okay, so if you beat the A and B scenarios, you get the true ending of the game.
Yeah.
So that's not to say like that if you finish A, you get like a bad ending. It's just not it's not quite the canon true ending.
Which was what I found weird with the remake. You still got that true ending if you beat it on A.
Yeah. Well, that shows that was kind of like condensed, right? Like they didn't know how many people would probably play through, I would guess. But with this game, like it didn't matter. Like they had it almost felt like 2 distinct campaigns between them. And then also in scenario B, there'd be different bosses. Like there was a Mr. X who was transforming into like a bigger Mr. X.
Into a bigger tyrant.
Yeah, bigger tyrant. You fought more forms of William Birkin, who's like the lead scientist of the G virus in this game. So that's the thing. They introduced a new virus in this game that is even worse than the T virus that transformed people into zombies.
Luckily, it was only a one-time thing until the CG movies came out.
yeah, and they're like everything about this game. Every moment of this game, I have some memory for it, and it's just I can't put it anywhere but number 1. Like all the other games, I love all the other Resident games I've listed. But 2, it just has to be at number 1. It sticks there for many reasons. To me, like it's like a timeless game. It may not age well today if you played it, the original PS1 version.
Yeah.
But for me, like this was pure Resident Evil at its peak, at its finest at the time.
It's wild to think that it came out before DualShock controllers were even a thing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, and that's the thing too is that there's the DualShock edition, which I bought as well because it had. I don't know if it had any extra content because 2 did have like those side scenarios with Hunk and Tofu, if you remember, right? There was Hunk who was like the umbrella like stormtrooper kind of guy, special ops guy, and it was just like a side scenario where like you'd go through like the sewers and stuff, and I think you had to deliver the virus that he took from Birkin or something like that, right? I don't know the story with Tofu, but it's literally like a giant slab of tofu that you're playing as.
He's basically like Hunk but tofu.
Oh, is that all it is? So it's the same scenario? Okay, I didn't remember. And then like he only had a knife if I recall to start out with, which was funny.
And it was funnier, like as you got wounded, he turned pinker.
Yeah.
He went from white to like pink and red.
It's like he was bleeding from the inside or something. So there's a lot of unlockables. This game, it was ported. That's the thing is like this was also ported a few times. So one of the ports I do want to talk about that was actually I think is really significant and huge was the Nintendo 64 version.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know, like the N64, like it couldn't really run, full motion video because it was on a cartridge. So there's limited cartridge space, and somehow the sorcerers that Capcom paid to port this game managed to condense all the FMV scenes, like the entire, all 4 scenarios, all the dialogue. They added some extra like note stuff. I think there's a randomizer mode in there. They added a lot of stuff to this port that really should have been impossible on the Nintendo 64, but it was really good for what it was.
I recently was listening to a podcast where they played it because they're playing N64, and I didn't realize at the time how different it was or how much extra, which made me miss like not getting it because at the time I was like, I played this, I have it on PlayStation.
It's like the same game and it's probably better on PS1.
I even have like the GameCube port of it, but I never got the N64 one with the extra notes. And I just said how I wanted to get every piece of note and fiction to it. I'm now kicking myself for not getting that one with all the extra notes. And the randomizer, like randomizers have become a big thing these days.
Yeah, especially for speedrunning.
And back then it was just a little thing like, we'll just throw this in there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, that would be great because I know that game backwards and forwards.
Exactly. That's what I thought. And like, I don't remember messing with the randomizer much at all back then. Not that I can recall, because the older games had a ranged mode, which shuffled items, but there was never a true randomizer mode until the N64, on which you're right. Like, it's crazy that they even thought of that.
Yeah.
But it also shows that like they were kind of thoughtful about the port, because they also probably thought like you and I, where it's like, there's people who played the hell out of this on PS1. Like, we have to give them something different on there.
Yeah.
And there's actually a great video by Modern Vintage Gamer where he breaks down like how they ported this. It's like 15 minutes or something like that, but he really talks about what the compression they use, like how they managed to fit all this data onto a cartridge.
It's
It's unbelievable. So Actually, I think you still buy like it's like 40 or $50, I think, for the card, which is kind of expensive.
You just got to find it.
You just gotta find it, like anything else. Yeah. And this also was on the Dreamcast and like the GameCube, and then perhaps the worst port that I did own for a time, the GameCom port. The GameCom was this absolutely terrible portable system that Tiger released in the late 90s. It somehow got all these incredible IPs. It had Mortal Kombat Trilogy, it had Sonic and Knuckles, it had Duke Nukem on there.
Oh yeah.
There was and then there was Resident Evil 2, which played like crap because the LCD screen on the Tiger Electronic Gamecom was it had a poor response time, so everything you saw was ghosting. So like you're playing Sonic, right, and you're speeding through, you see nothing but a blur of black pixels on there. So I would say like if you're interested in seeing what this is, like try to find a video of someone playing it on the Gamecom, because the emulated versions don't show you how terrible it was.
Oh yeah, they clean it up.
Well, it's even that. It's not even that. It's like when you're running on an emulation, like you're running through your like your monitor one. That's not real hardware, so there's no ghosting because it's your monitor or whatever it's emulated through. If you play on real hardware, you'll see just how much of a garbage mess this game is. I guess it's only an hour or two, which I couldn't even stomach getting through that for an hour or two. It was horrible. And that's our top 10. I think that about does it for Resident Evil, for us for Resident Evil. Resident Evil 2, like I think it was no surprise. What did you expect would be on my number 1? I was just curious.
Resident Evil 4.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Yeah. I'm surprised. So we do have a guest list I want to go through here.
Yes.
Before we touch on some of the other games.
We mentioned him a lot.
We mentioned him a lot. So my brother Bob, he's probably a bigger Resident Evil fan than I am. At least back then. Like now he's a family man. He's got kids and everything. So he still loves Resident Evil. But back then, like this was his game. Like he played through the hell of Resident Evil games. So I asked him to send us his top 10 list, because I figured it's only appropriate since he was part of our little crew back then.
Yeah.
Like he was in the Resident Evil crew. So we'll go through his list pretty quick. We'll start off with number 10, which is already a pick that we expected. Resident Evil Survivor.
I'm surprised it's not his number 1.
I thought it'd be higher. I think he might have softened himself up over the years in this one. So the reason we're crapping on Resident Evil Survivor is that this game was released in I think it was like 1999 or 2000. No, it was after 2000.
It was after Columbine.
Exactly. That's why I would place it that way. So this game is a first-person shooter that was meant to be a light gun game. So you would control it with the D-pad, and then you would use your light gun to shoot the zombies, hunters, enemies, like whatever's on the screen. Mm-hmm. So when they ported it to the US, they removed the functionality, or they removed any support for light guns, because Columbine had happened like a year before.
Yeah.
So what you have now is this ugly first-person shooter where you're slowly trudging through areas. You
still have tank controls in first person.
You have tank controls, and then you have to aim your cursor over enemies that are coming at you.
Yep.
And it's just hot garbage. And the story is pretty short. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours, I think. We'll say 4 hours if you're doing at your worst.
It can be speed run on GDQs.
Yeah, it can be speed run, and the story is totally irrelevant to anything Resident Evil. I think the main character has like amnesia or something.
No, it actually pertains. So I'm gonna say right now that this was one of my honorable mentions.
Oh, really?
Only for the story.
Yeah.
It explains tyrant creations.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And things like that. So I'm like, okay, this gets a pass. This is Umbrella's involved. I don't like any of the other parts of it. I can beat it with a pistol, literally. Yeah. But you know what? Good on them for the story.
I guess we'll say that's the one redeeming factor. Yeah. It actually is somewhat tied to the series, but the game itself is just bad. Like this, you can look on a YouTube video and you'll see just how bad it is. It's not great. His number 9 was the Resident Evil 2 remake. Number 8 was Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles, which is that's the proper light gun shooter that was on the Wii and PS3.
I've always wanted to play that.
Yeah, that's the one where what it does, it's actually a really cool game where I think it's the first 3 games, like it goes through the events there, or maybe it goes to Resident Evil 0 through 2.
Oh no, that's not what I'm thinking of. But yeah, I played this.
Yeah,
on Wii.
On the Wii, it was on the Wii originally, and then they ported it to PS3. Really cool game. It's like sort of a condensed events of the first few games in each version. Like there's Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles. So they all think of it as like a recap of the earlier games. They're really good. They're really fun. Number 7 was Resident Evil 1, the 1996 version, that the PS1 Saturn original.
Wasn't that your 7?
I think it was actually. That's perfectly appropriate, I guess. Yeah. And then his number 6 was Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the original PS1 version. I don't remember if he played the remake. I'm not sure. I think he might have.
The remake was my number 6.
That's right. You had the remake on there. And then his number 2, I was surprised about this. His number 2 was Resident Evil 2 in 1998.
You mean number 5?
Number 5, excuse me.
Yeah.
I said 2 first. Yes, number 5 was Resident Evil 2 from 1998.
Oh, wow.
I thought that would be a lot higher for him.
Yeah, me too.
And then number 4, it's Resident Evil 5. I didn't expect that for him either. I know he enjoyed it so much. Yeah.
That's high.
It's really high. Number 3, Code Veronica X.
Okay.
I expected that. That's appropriate for Bob here. Number 2 was pretty surprising to me, and maybe more so you, because you haven't even played this yet. He put Resident Evil Village as his number 2. For him, I think he did finish the game. And I told him before, I was like, this game is really good. Like, you definitely got to at least try to get through some of it. And then, soon enough, he finished. He was like, I love this freaking game.
I was gonna say, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm sure it's like a return to form.
That's exactly
like
why.
you said, he's a family man now, so he doesn't have that much time. But then to have this game grab him like that,
that's what I mean. So that's kind of the barometer. Is like, if Bob can finish it with his busy life of being a family man, that means this game is that damn good, I would say. So it's worthwhile. And then number 1, unsurprisingly to me, Resident Evil 4, the original 2005 version.
Okay. Yep.
So just a couple of games you want to go through, some honorable mentions. Deucy, you mentioned Survivor. The ones I want to call out more specifically were Resident Evil Deadly Silence. That was the DS. I don't want to call it a port. It kind of was a port with enhancements, like DS enhancements, where it's like there's an element where you could slash on the screen, on the bottom screen with your knife. That was kind of a gimmick they had there. This was the full first Resident Evil game, but on the Nintendo DS, which, again, that's actually pretty impressive that it was condensed there. It's a fully playable experience. It's really fun.
That was another one that I spent a lot of time at the museum with.
I bet. Yeah, that's a great game for that. It's a really good port. That one's climbing up in price, though. I think it's pretty expensive now. I think it's like...
Oh, wow. I'm glad I still have my copy.
Yeah, right. I think it was like 70 or 80 bucks. It's pretty up there. It's climbing. The other one I wanted to mention that was kind of fun was Resident Evil Dead Aim. This was the proper light gun / movement shooter. This was on PS2, and this one was like a side story that I don't believe is canon at all, but it's you're playing some guy, I forgot his name, and you're on an ocean liner that apparently Umbrella has transported a virus on.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right, of course, and an ocean liner of
As
all
you
things.
do.
Yeah. And this game was cool because it was third person for the most part, and then it would transition to a first person with a light gun game. Really cool idea.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, it's a side story, so it doesn't really have any significance.
It feels like Resident Evil Gaiden, but better.
Yes. And that actually ties perfectly. I wanted to mention Resident Evil Gaiden. I want to call that out because that was on the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
It's one of the later Game Boy Color releases. Yeah. And that game had a similar idea, actually. I think it was also on some sort of ocean liner.
They were on like a cruise ship or something.
A cruise ship. You play as Barry, and... this game it's just like a really condensed version of Resident Evil. Like, there's puzzles. The battles are cool because, again, it's a first person kind of it's like a mini game where you're facing zombies.
Yeah.
And on the bottom, your cursor is like going back and forth really fast.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you have to hit A when it centers on this gap, and that's like your shot. If you hit it in the gap, then it's like, it's a hit.
Yeah.
If you miss, then your bullets miss. So that's their way of like making combat on the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest. It doesn't work that well, but for me, like, having a portable Game Boy Color version of Resident Evil, it was fine back then because we had been waiting for the port of the first game on Game Boy Color that eventually got canceled.
And it was, I don't think it's canon, but to me it could be because it doesn't really affect anything. It's like Barry's looking for Leon.
It's something weird.
So it's like a weird like side story and just more of the same characters we already knew.
Yeah.
So I was fine with that one.
Yeah, that one's I would definitely say, like, if you can try to, if you want to play it or interested, like, go on YouTube or something, you can emulate it. It's also one of the more expensive Game Boy Color games, if I recall. Like, I know my brother Bob had the box, and it's like $300-400 now. And he's like, I really wish I knew where that box was.
Oh,
because he has the cartridge, but not the box.
Oh, man.
It's crazy how expensive that's gotten. And then one more I want to call out before you get to your list. The one I have to just say how much I hate, Umbrella Corps.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Dishonorable mention.
This game, I don't even know what it's really about. Like, this is one of those games. It was built. It's a side story game, but it was meant to be like a multiplayer game.
Mm-hmm. Like a squad shooter.
It's like a squad based shooter with like challenges and objectives. But the perspective of this game is the worst I've seen in a game. Like, it's an over the shoulder view, quite literally. Like, you're looking over the guy's shoulder, like you're up to his back, like like,
weird.
Yeah, so you're right there, and then when you zoom in to aim, like it jumps forward. Everything's a bullet sponge. It's really clunky. The collision detection is awful. There was nothing fun about this game. I bought it for like $5 because it was $5 on PS Plus years back, and my friend and I played co-op, and it was just like, this is just effing awful. Like, this is just not a Resident Evil game. It had loose ties to Resident Evil. It was just
Which what is it again?
Umbrella Core.
Yeah.
Awful.
Resident
awful.
Evil Umbrella Core.
Resident Evil. I don't even think it was called Resident Evil. I think it was just called Umbrella Core. I don't think it had the subtitle
really?
on there. Yeah.
Huh.
So it was like related but not related.
Yeah. I mean, I just sort of assumed because you have Umbrella in the title.
Yeah.
What was the one? I'm trying to think. The one that I mistook Bob's Wii version.
Umbrella Chronicles?
Yeah, but there's another one. I think it's on PS2, and it's like the story of 4 or 5 survivors individually.
Oh, you're thinking Outbreak maybe.
Maybe,
the
yeah.
online one?
That was the one I got confused. I always wanted to play that one.
Yeah, I rented it once at Hollywood Video when I worked there, and I didn't have the online adapter.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a pretty not great single-player experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always wanted certain things like that where there's maybe a gimmick or something to be remade without the gimmick. Like, who cares about or actually online co-op is way easier now these days. Might as well bring it out and let us play on that. Because I watched, like I said, that timeline of Resident Evil things, and it's not canon, but sure, it can fit in there. Like, there's just these other survivors in the city. Might as well hear their story.
People like to, they like to rewrite canon anyway. I think they can fully finesse these ways. Like Disney's done that with Star Wars, and other games have done it with multiverses. One, I hope Resident Evil never does the multiverse, but they find ways to finesse these things back in there.
Oh yeah, that's the funny thing is they don't need a multiverse when they might.
Yeah.
So my honorable mentions, I wanted to mention Resident Evil Director's Cut.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Because that is the only way I've played Resident Evil 1 until the GameCube remake. And I didn't even realize that it was fairly different from the original. In fact, possibly in some ways worse when it comes to like music and stuff.
Yeah, we'll pipe in a little bit of the music just to get an idea here.
And I don't know if you want to find like the original, how it's supposed to sound, which is a lot better than that. So I didn't know that. I was just like, oh, well, fine. Like, this is just another reason why I'm glad I played Resident Evil 2 first. Another honorable mention was Resident Evil Survivor. And then Resident Evil 6 is all the way down in my mentions because for the same reasons that it's on your list is I enjoy the co-op. I've enjoyed the co-op with you. But it's doesn't feel very Resident Evil-y.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally fair to leave it off your top 10.
And one last honorable mention, because I wanted to put it on this list, but it hasn't quite gotten there for me yet, is Resident Evil Revelations. The first one on DS, or 3DS. And I put it on my mentions because I really enjoyed it. I feel like this was the first time a handheld really got it right for something original. Like DS had the Resident Evil one you mentioned, which was fine, but that was already Resident Evil. That was already proven. This one came out. It was a whole new story with slightly new enemies, and you were playing as Jill, and she had a partner, and then later it switches to Chris and his partner, and then they meet up. Once again, it takes place on a boat at the first part.
I don't know why it's with boats with them. It's so weird.
And then later, I think it goes on to either land or another boat.
Even near the end of 7, there's a boat.
Yeah. And I guess it's just it's a cheap way of bringing the tension because you're trapped on a boat. Where are you going to go? But yeah, I really enjoyed this story for being just a handheld game. And then they recently ported it to Xbox, so you don't have to worry about cramping your hand.
Yeah, and the ports are really nice too because they're I think they're HD ports or what you want to call them, but yeah, those are freely available like anywhere. And there's also Revelations 2, which I haven't gotten too far into. Yeah, it was pretty difficult from when I got to play, but also I haven't played that co-op either, so it could be a better experience if we tried that one out.
It's not quite the same as 5 and 6 because like their co-op is somebody gets a gun and somebody gets a flashlight.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. It's a different experience, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think that does it for our fantastic top 10 Resident Evil episode. Deucy, it's been incredible to revisit the series as always.
This was a fun one. I will always talk about Resident
Oh,
Evil.
of course. I'm going to say, we're definitely going to be doing more episodes about Resident Evil, more specific games and whatnot.
Yep.
But, if any of you have anything to share about Resident Evil, if you want to share some of your memories or, maybe dispute why Resident Evil 6 is on my top 10 or maybe why other games aren't on mine, email us at legiongamingpod@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter /X at Legion Gaming Pod, and you can find us on Instagram at Legion Gaming Podcast. Deucy, any final words for our friends before we make it off into the nights for another evening with Resident Evil?
Just, you are dead.
And with that, we will end it. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you so much.